think it's time we blow this scene. Get everybody in the stuff together. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam.
And welcome to the Red Leaf Retrocast Anime Edition. It's episode 50, a huge milestone for the podcast. I'm your host, JD, joined here with my usual guest hosts, the two that have been here since the beginning, Tori and Hickey. Tori, how are you on this fine day?
I'm really good. Looking forward to the Champions League final later tonight, and it's going to be great. But first, we got to do this podcast, which we should have done last week. But we didn't.
Well, I was violently ill last weekend, plus my voice is gone. There was absolutely no way that podcast would have been able to even be edited within the last week. I still managed to muster up the energy to go to work all this past week, and I proceeded to sleep for the next 12 hours right after I got home. I have been a corpse walking for a while, but I am here today. And do you know who else is here today, Tori?
I think it's the Mexican
guy. That's right. Hickey, how you doing?
First off, fuck you. Both of you. Doesn't matter. I'm fine. I got a job. I'm not a NEET anymore. I'm actually, well, I didn't get the job yet, but I'm doing my best to get the job. So yeah, I've been working as well the past couple of weeks. I didn't sleep the last 12 hours because I thought it's been a while since I went to sleep later. But I felt like an old man because I didn't have anything to do, anything to play. I just sat in my couch looking at the ceiling. Yeah, it's been fun. Working as a lawyer is very fun.
I'm glad you like your job. I'm coming up on 3 months at my new one, and it's going pretty well. They're giving me more and more responsibility as time has gone on. I've been training 4 people. They're hiring more and more, so I've essentially become a line manager. Got a little raise already, which is quite nice, but I still don't like getting up at 4:30 in the morning every day of the week, and then possibly
it is
working Saturdays.
Yeah, it is really bad. Especially like I need to deal a lot of traffic jams, so I need to be at my job at 9 a.m. Better than you, but I need to wake up at 6 a.m. and get into a packed bus at 7 a.m. So I can get there because of the packed jams. I usually get there 1 hour before the work starts, and I just sit in a park for an hour playing Idolmaster or something like that. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad you got a raise. I'm glad people like you at a job. They realized trying to melt your own face was an accident.
Yeah, I've been trying to increase the culture of safety that is very much absent there.
I bet.
Yeah, even though I was very safe performing the job, accidents do happen. And I'm just like, case in point, I was safe and I still got hurt.
Yeah, it's been
so.
Yeah, it has been a fairly good fairly good year for us.
2019's been fun. It's life is going quite well. Not the whole me being sick part, but luckily I have very nice green tea and beautiful 12-year-old bourbon sherry cask scotch from the Highlands, right for this nice occasion of episode 50.
Nice. I have water,
Water.
Tap water. Because
Tap
I'm poor.
water.
That is actually shocking.
The lawyer is saying he's poor.
I am poor. I just started. They didn't even pay. Well, they paid me, and I wasted everything in alcohol for the hentai cast.
Which is our next episode. Very fun. Look forward to that, people.
Now the only thing we need this year is Tori YouTube channel to explode, and everything will be fine.
That would be nice. Yeah. I do have
the engineer,
now...
the lawyer need the YouTube star to really bring us up.
Yeah, I mean, I do have more subscribers now than I ever had before, having 1, 2, 3 subscribers.
All right,
123. So hey, things are looking up. That's not a big number, but hey, I've never fucking. It's the most successful YouTube channel I've ever had, and it's my second channel. That probably says all.
I tried not to, but
it's fine, dude. I was like 13 when I first started making YouTube videos. They weren't good.
They never are on your first try, right?
Yeah, that is definitely true.
So on this cast, episode 50, we're coming to the end of Tori's movie quest, which he's going to cover 2 movies that I hope everyone is looking forward to. Then we got JD and Hickey's Manga Manhwa Checkout. We got one of the most popular webtoons we're covering there. Something popular for episode 50. Why not? We got our topic of just our favorite things we've done doing the podcast, shows, topics, and the like. And then we're reviewing, if you couldn't tell by the title, Cowboy Bebop. The time has come, boys.
This is just a mainstream episode.
Yeah, we're staying mainstream for episode 50.
Even one of your movies on your movie quest is very mainstream.
You're not wrong. I don't know. I'm looking forward to it though. Should be good.
Well, with that, anybody been playing video games or watch? How's the seasonal anime going for everybody?
I had to stop everything because of my job. I mean, it's a problem. I think I still like anime more than law.
Okay.
But law gives me money. So I'm putting all my efforts on getting hired. So I had to cut most of the anime. I'm still watching the mainstream things and some things I like. I'm enjoying so much Hitori Bochi because of the Brazilian music in it. Summer is coming, and because of that, they are just going full on. Every single show is going Brazilian music because it's summer and Japanese people are a little bit, racist in the side. Regardless, yeah, but the ones I'm watching, I'm having a lot of fun. It's not a astonishing season. It's not a season you would talk about, but at least it's a season you can have fun with.
Yeah, I think this season as a whole is pretty weak, all things considered. I still think my favorite show from this season is Dororo, which is carrying over.
I thought you were gonna say Middle Thighs.
I mean, listen, that's only for the men of culture.
All right.
But yeah, no. So I do also enjoy Carol and Tuesday, the Netflix show. So there's some good stuff, but generally speaking, I'm not super into this season. I've fallen a little bit behind as well because of exams and stuff I have to take. Still have 2 more I need to do, and then I don't have anything I need to do until November again, where I have to take my final exams. So yeah, I'm mostly looking forward to the season to end so we can start the next one.
Yeah, next season looks like it's gonna be at least get some more heavy hitters out there. I'm kind of with you on the whole. I'm kind of with both of you. I'm keeping up with the mainstream stuff. I'm still enjoying One Punch Man season 2, even though its animation is vastly underwhelming.
Yeah,
to say it as kind as possible. But the story is still very goofy, and I enjoy it. There's something weird. We'll get there when we review it. Demon Slayer, I've come around on. It's doing things shonen-wise that I'm finally starting to get into. I still need to finish Ultraman, which is on Netflix. I watched half of it on a plane ride and then hadn't finished it since. Just life is getting in the way a lot. I've been training for the PBA Championships that's coming up that I'm going to at the end of the month here. Hopefully, obviously, I hope I get better by that time physically. But I bowled a perfect game last Wednesday night bowling, just out of nowhere. I was sick.
Oh, damn.
Just
Yeah. The underdog.
Just like, oh.
Jade.
What?
Oh my god! I made a joke. It was an accident. Okay.
It's okay.
Junk dog, JD is just like the underdog. Just forget what I said. I feel like
no, it was funny. I show up Wednesday night and people are just like, "Dude, you look horrible." And then the third game in, I pull a perfect game. I'm like, "Yeah, that happened, I guess."
That's when you turned to them and you just, I'm sorry, I guess I'm not feeling my best today.
No, I mean, I said it at the beginning. I was like, I'm not really feeling all that well today. And then one of my bowling teammates just goes, "Someone get this guy the flu. He might bowl 3 perfect games."
JD puffs his chest with pride. Just walks away.
Yeah, I just so happen to be wearing my Kazuchika Okada Rainmaker shirts for all the wrestling fans out there. They call him the Rainmaker, so I was just like, yeah, give me the money now.
GD bullying,
wrestling joke.
Bullying old people for money with bowling. But yeah, I mean, when talking about games, Bloodstain is finally coming.
Oh, I'm very excited. It's finally coming out.
I won't be able to pre-order it, and I feel like shit because the game is very expensive. Steam might change the prices once it is released because they have a policy of changing prices through countries, and I hope it changes because right now with the DLC, I'm looking at a game of $100.
Oof.
In dollars, it's not much. It's $25. 12
but
for
that's
the
not
main
how much
game.
you're spending.
Yeah, every time I say something in dollars, you just multiply by 4, and it's
God.
And I want the DLC as well, but the DLC is like $40, right? But oh my god, it's so conflicted. And I know that once I get paid by the end of June, I'm buying the game. Full price, I don't give a shit. That's a big problem.
I hope the game gets really good reviews. I really liked Curse of the Moon that came out, which was which was the 8-bit rendition that was like the Castlevania game we've wanted since the Super Nintendo days. Video games the last few weeks have been very good lately. I bought Plague Tale. Tale of Innocence, which is a narrative-based game. I really enjoyed that. It's about the Black Plague. So, coming back to our obviously our famous hentai episode.
Yeah.
And then I bought a PSVR game that came out called Blood and Truth. That's really fun. I haven't played a VR game that I've been this into in quite some time, which is nice. Getting more use out of my VR. And Mario Maker 2 is coming out along with Bloodstained. So, and E3 is right around the corner.
The Splatoon.
It's the more violent version. You just don't know of it.
I mean, the only thing about Mario Maker 2 is that Nintendo did a Nintendo thing with the multiplayer.
Yeah, you can only play online with random people. What the hell is that? That is so stupid. Like, why even bother?
Yeah, so they're like, why are you putting in online mode then?
Nintendo wants you to make friends.
Yeah, with their app that doesn't really work.
That's right. Yeah, no, I don't know. I have not been playing video games again. Exam stuff. I've been playing a little bit of RuneScape, obviously, which I just do on and off. Because it's
you could also buy Bloodstained because that's gonna be a multiplayer game, and JD is not getting it for PC, so I need someone to play with me.
But like, I don't really feel like it. Like, I'm not really looking at any games. The only game, this pretty much just says everything. The only game that I'm even remotely interested in is Persona 5R, which is Persona 5 again, which I still need to beat.
But Dynasty Warriors.
No, not the Dynasty Warrior game. Persona 5 R is it's Persona 5 again, but with like some added new characters and some added like social links and whatnot. So it's like
I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah,
okay.
it's two Persona, like it's Persona 4 Golden essentially to Persona 4. That's what Persona 5 R is. So yeah, that's pretty much the only game that I'm looking forward to, and that's not coming out this year at all. So hey,
I mean, not coming out in the West, right? Because it's coming out.
Yeah, it's coming out. It's coming out in Japan, yes, but the West gets it in like 2020.
Tori, I don't remember. Did you really like Yakuza, or you just thought it was okay?
So far I've only played one Yakuza. I do like Yakuza, and I still play it like on and off. I haven't beat it. I'm pretty close to beating it, but again, I pretty much just put all my video games on hold. So I'm looking to beat it. I'm basically just looking to do it, like, because I have a bunch of games on PlayStation that I just haven't beat. I'm basically just looking to fucking do like a mass play and just finally sit down and beat all those games. Then I'll
Once
start looking at
exams
other
are
games.
over, of course.
Yeah, of course, I can't do it now.
I don't know. My favorite story that I remember from college was one of my good friends. He was on the border of failing out of college, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he needed to pass his next 2 exams in order to at least make a case for him to stay in school, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the school was very understanding to, like, as long as you showed that you were wanting to stay in and your grades were improving, right? Like you could prove that. Because I had to do it once. My grades were below where they should have been, and I just went in and was like, look, this is what I'm doing. I've turned in all my assignments, et cetera, et cetera. I'm just having a tough time right now, kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he proceeded to not study for his next 2 exams and watch Dragon Ball Z. All of it. In the weekend. And I remember looking at him going, John, don't you have exams? And he goes, yeah. Aren't you gonna fail out of school if you don't pass these 2? Yeah. Okay.
I mean, at least he's content with it. He's kind of. It just sounds like it's just he had just resigned himself to his fate. It's just like, it's gonna happen anyways.
Like, you're not gonna try? You're just gonna watch Dragon Ball Z? Okay. All right, then.
Did
I'll
like
just
what he was doing,
go
or
over here. He comes up with me later. Yeah, I didn't pass those exams. You don't say.
Oh, I mean, I did look over some notes right before the exam, but nah.
It's like weird. I thought I'd pass those. I wonder what was the reason.
I am the opposite. Like, I study too much, which is shocking, I know, because I watch so much anime. You'd think I didn't study, but I do. I studied so much, I had to fucking stop myself because I was getting too far ahead of everything. So I had to take a break for like a month. Then I got to get back into studying, and then I finally get to take my 2 written exams, and I just sit down, and I feel like when I sit down for the first exam, because obviously the first exam is generally the worst, that's when you feel the most nervous. I sit down, and I think to myself, like, God, I don't remember anything. How am I ever going to fucking pass this thing? And then I get the exam, and I'm like, oh, thank God, I can do this. Now,
I've had that happen to me on a number of exams where I just kind of freak out a little bit, and then all of a sudden I remember nothing.
Yeah.
I'm just, oh no, not again.
It's not so much that you don't... for me, it's not so much that I don't remember anything. It's just like, it's that uncertainty, right? Because I haven't seen the exam. I don't know what I'm getting. You only know what you're getting once you get the exam in front of you, right? So it's like that. You're like, do I remember everything? Shit. I think I'm forgetting something. Fuck. Can I do this? And then you get the exam and you're like, okay, I'm good.
Well, I mean, I won't voice my opinion because I'm coming to realize I'm an exception on many things.
He remembers everything anyways.
Namely gotcha. So like
finally you realize.
I'm slowly understanding that. And for example, I never freaked out. I get excited. I would get
I wish
excited for exams.
Yeah.
And that's a problem because I would study a lot and I'll remember everything. I would sit through exam and proceed to write everything I remembered. So the teacher was like, wrong. And I'm like, but teacher, it is right. And he's like, yeah, but you put a bunch of information that was basically useless to the question.
Yeah, like that. Yeah. No, that's definitely something you also can't do. It needs to answer the question. Like, I don't know. I don't have exam anxiety, which is a good thing. I do get nervous, but I don't get like overly nervous. I think I get like a healthy amount of nervous. I get focused, and then I go do it, right? Because it's like when I went to my first exam, because obviously that is like my first exam in over a year. Obviously, it's a little bit of nerves. The second exam I went to, much better. Right now I'm back in the exam mode. Doesn't really matter. Now it's just let's go and get it done.
Let's go get this bread. No,
Let's go get this bread.
I just get very excited. Also,
Let's get this bread, gamers.
everyone out there going through college or school, and you like anime, don't worry about it. I watched 6 hours of anime every day and became a lawyer. You can also do that. Except, I'm a little bit of an exception, but
I mean, you can do
what you
pretty
gotta
much
do.
anything.
Be happy with what you gotta do. That's about it.
You can do pretty much whatever you want as long as you manage to schedule it out okay. That's basically the thing. It's like, I see people, they're like freaking out. They're like, I can't do what I want to do because I have to study for the exam. And I'm like, I mean, you could do both. Like first of all, if you had done what you should have done and studied from when you started up until this point, you wouldn't be in this trouble where you feel like you have to study everything now. And at that point, you can do like what I do. You can spend like half the day studying, and you can spend like the rest of the day, like, night, watching anime.
I like that.
Oh, yeah.
That's more or less what I would do. I would let's see. My college in Michigan, when I was there. In Germany, I would just do the reading and work, and then, they would have all their exams in February. Very much different cultural standing. But in Michigan, I would every Friday do all my weekend work that Friday. And that would free up the entire weekend to do whatever I would so please. Whether it was video games or watch nothing but anime.
Yeah. Yeah, I did that too. Like, I remember, that was basically how I got stamped as a fucking nerd in school. Because I remember, like, I was the only one who did the assignments for our English class. And everyone was like, dude, you're such a fucking nerd. And that's when I looked at them, and I realized, because this was like, we got it on Friday and it was due Monday, so we had to do it over the weekend. So when they were like, dude, you wasted your fucking weekend doing homework, I turned to them and I look at them and I point to the fucking book and I go, it's 5 questions on a fucking that you get the answer to all questions on half a page worth of text. What I did was, when our teacher at the end of this class presented this task to us and went through it with us, I listened to what he said and I wrote down the answers to the questions in class like he told us that we could do. No, I didn't waste my weekend. I didn't do any fucking homework during the weekend.
All right, enough bullshitting around. Let's get this podcast started.
Yeah.
Playing this drop. Dragon Ball Z. Go, Tori.
Alright, so it's time for my movie quest once again. And since this is a week late, I've watched quite a few movies since last time. I've watched 18 movies since last time. So yeah, I get stuff done, like I said. And yeah, the movies that I've seen real quick is Boy and the Beast, Girls on Pansel der Film, Kisumonogatari Part 1, 2, and 3, A Silent Voice, In This Corner of the World, Lou Over the Wall, Uchiage Hanabi, Mary and the Witch's Flower, Fairy Tale Movie 2, Kuroko no Basuke Movie 4, Yakusatsu Kikan, Lupin the Third, Goemon Ishikawa's Spray of Blood, Trinity 7, that was Makuya, I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, and Listen to Bluebird. But the 2 movies that I'm going to be talking about is one, Kisumonogatari, and the other one will be Goemon Ishikawa's Spray of Blood. Well, at first,
really had that octane change per show on point.
No girls and poses will be talking this episode.
no, it's a good movie, but I don't really feel like I have
It is
anything to
fun.
say about
You
it.
watched a bunch of movies. Also,
I
like
did.
by the end of your movie quest, I would just ask you to make brief considerations of A Boy and the Beast, because when we talked about it, you said, I'm about to watch it. I might talk a little bit, so I'd like to
that's
listen
true.
to your impression.
Yeah. Remind me of that. I'll probably do that. But yeah. No. Anyways.
Speaking of listening to Tori, I'm gonna pour this
Oh, wow.
beautiful scotch.
That
Pour
was
one
a
out.
I
beautiful
have
sound.
these movies you're gonna talk about right here. I haven't seen yet, and I've been dying to see
Ooh.
them. So I'm very curious about your thoughts. Let me just get this close to the mic here.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
that sounds wonderful.
Alcohol
Man.
issues.
okay, Tori, my body is ready.
That's good. So, first up, Kisemonogatari. Kisemonogatari is obviously the prequel movies to the Monogatari series. Bakemonogatari, Nisemonogatari, all of those Niseo works. That is made by Shaft. It was supposed to come out forever ago, but they started releasing it in like 2016. So, a little bit late, but hey. Better late than never, and obviously directed by Akiyuki Shinbo, as they always say that it is, and probably mostly directed by Tatsuya Oshii, because Akiyuki Shinbo doesn't really do much directing anymore. So, anyways, we basically get the prequel to what happens in Bakemonogatari. So we learn of how how Araragi gets to be a vampire, and as he meets Hanakawa and Shinobu, Meme, all those people that you know and love. And
Of course.
mhm. And it is just the way I want to talk, because if you've ever seen a Shaft show, you know that they have this really peculiar style, lots of weird framing. The head tilt is infamous in this fandom. Everyone loves a good Shaft head tilt, no matter how back-breaking it looks. And basically, Kisemonogatari is Shaft doing what they normally do, but like turning it up to 11.
Ooh.
This movie is highly stylized, from the art style to the color scheme to the kind of wonky-looking CG, which actually kind of is a little bit of a neat touch. For the set pieces, it makes it look interesting rather than the normal shitty CG. So I really like this movie from our perspective as a guy who likes Monogatari, but I really like this as a look at like an art movie and just a silly movie, because one of the things that got me, because I haven't seen any Monogatari in a long time, the thing that got to me going into this was that whenever somebody presents Monogatari to you, they present it as this really like interesting narrative layered show that like lots of fast cuts, lots of sarcasm, lots of just character interactions and interesting pieces like that. Yeah, wordplays. There's a lot of that, a bunch of stuff like that. But I feel like everyone kind of forgets something, and that is that. When they, or not forget something, I feel like everyone skips over one thing when it comes to Monogatari when they try to present it. Monogatari is silly as fuck. It is.
I thought you forgot that. I felt like mentioning like how he became a vampire in the first place. Is like, boobs.
Yep.
Some underwear. I'm gonna buy a porn magazine.
No, I know, right? But that was my point, right? It's like I feel like everyone always skips those parts, but that is very much apparent in Kisu as well. There is just so much silliness, so much like. And they really use, the art style and the animation to kind of highlight that a lot, as they always do.
I was wondering how because I have the novel of the first.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, no, Kizumonogatari is one novel into 3 movies, right?
Yes, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
I've read, I think, a third of the novel,
Okay.
just about. So this covers about the first movie, and I was wondering how book 2 film that would translate, and it sounds to me it's word for word picture, like word to picture equivalent, which I'm happy to hear.
I mean, as I haven't read it, I don't think it's directly. I haven't really read cases, so I can't say with a certainty. But I do think that Shaft stays faithful to the novel, as they generally do. But I do think like it is still Shaft. I do think they take a little bit of like artistic liberties, especially with like how everything is framed, like how they go about showing stuff, right? Obviously, right. I mean, the like in between scenes, like text is obviously very much apparent in this one as well. Stuff like that. Good. It's more Monogatari. It's better looking Monogatari than any of the other series.
Yeah. I guess
action scenes are just on fucking. They are on point. They look really good. It's just, I love it. I love even the fan service looks fucking good. Araragi taking off his shirt after becoming a vampire when fucking he and Hanako was talking. He needs to change clothes, and he takes off his shirt and he's just fucking ripped. And Hanako was just like, dude, like, let me touch you. And she just starts poking his muscles, like, you're so firm. It's like fucking a little bit of a realization. It's just like, wait, this is weird. Stop.
I really want to read the Anime Planet summary for our audience, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
right fast. Araragi, a second-year high school student at Naotsu High School, befriends Hanakawa, the top honor student at his school. Tsubasa mentions a rumor about a blonde vampire that has been sighted around their town recently. Araragi, who is usually antisocial, takes a liking to Tsubasa's down-to-earth personality. That evening, he encounters this rumored vampire. She is Kishot
Asarula Orion Underblade. Hard
Underblade, also known as the King of Apparitions. The blonde, golden-eyed vampire cries out for him to save her as she lies in a pool of her own blood, all 4 of her limbs cut off.
Oh yeah.
She asks Araragi to give her his own blood in order to save her life, and when he does, 'cause boobs, the very next moment he awakes, and he finds himself reborn as her vampire kin. As he struggles to accept his existence, she whispers to him, "Welcome to the world of darkness." I like that summary.
I do too. I just feel like I would have liked them to also highlight the fact that he also has to get, because when he meets Kishot, she has lost all her limbs. Those limbs were taken by vampire slayers, and Araragi has to try to get them back. That's also kind of a point. That's mostly what happens in movie 2. But yeah, so essentially the whole scene when he encounters Kishot for the first time, as she is kind of there trying to like, please offer me up all your blood to heal me. It'll be your great honor to die at the hands of such a great vampire. And he's just freaking out, like, nope.
He books out.
Yeah, he just fucking books. He's like, nah, I'm not having this.
But like that scene, there are a lot of the animation and the quality of Kizu is just
it's
a notch above.
I know
what Shaft usually do, even in movies.
I know, that's what I said.
You watch it Uchiage Hanabi, so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And like her crying out with the severe limbs just flinging around.
Yeah.
Araragi catching on fire after it when he becomes a vampire. It's really, really, really good. I think it's a little bit too good, but I'm just picking on Shaft.
I mean, in the sense that like you have to go back to the series again, it's like, but yes, I do agree. No, but like what I especially like is like, as you mentioned, the animation that scene is just fantastic. But it's like the way the entire thing is framed, when he just like has this like nervous break and he doesn't know what to do, and he just eventually just decides to book it, and you see like fucking the fear set into the eyes of Kishot, and she's like, wait, he's leaving. He doesn't want to offer up his life for me. And she just starts freaking out, body flaying, blood splattering everywhere. And just, again, fucking gotta give credits to Maya Sakamoto as well, the voice as Kesha, because she's amazing. Holy shit.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. And then generally, after that movie too, we get a lot of like talking, obviously with Meme, and then after that we get to some rather short fight scenes. Like, I think one of the things that a lot of people can get disappointed with Monogatari is that you think it's an action show until you realize that it generally doesn't really revolve that much around action. In this series, Araragi mostly just gets his ass handed to him whenever there's some sort of fight. And in this one, he kind of just runs away every time until, like the first guy he has to fight, a half vampire, half human, who's like massive, and he's like actively trying to kill him. And then Araragi kind of just starts throwing baseballs at him.
Very silly. Yeah, it is very silly. Oh, I still need to watch the third movie. God damn it, it's been 2 years.
Yeah, I fuck it. You get to that. The third movie is also great. I don't want to spoil anything. It's just like, fuck it. Even if you, Val, you don't need to have seen any fucking Monogatari. This is the beginning, technically. Just jump into these movies. They're fucking amazing. Oh, I love them so much.
That's good. I was gonna ask you, like, is this a good starting point?
Canonically, this is the starting point.
Yeah.
But like I said, when you watch Monogatari, you can do it. I think you can do it two ways. You can go through release order, or you can watch it in chronological. It doesn't really.
I agree. I agree
matter.
with that. Okay.
Although the chronological order is a little bit fucked up because you need to slice up 12. Sometimes you need to slice up 13 episode seasons and it's 6 episodes, and then there's a whole season, then 2 episodes of another season, and then the rest of the season you sliced up in the beginning. The chronological order in Monogatari is a little bit fucked up because a lot of events happen at the same time. And the good thing about watching in release order is when you catch those things happening at the same time. Like Nekomonogatari Shiro, which is the tiger, let's just say that. And Araragi fighting the former Kishot servant.
Right.
Like it happens at the same time, but one you see it's like the 3rd season, and the other one is the 10th season or something like that, and they are happening at the same time. That is very nice when you see those kind of things. It's very neat. So instead of the chronological order, I think release order is more fun.
I agree.
Especially you don't need spreadsheets to understand which episode is where.
I don't like. I don't particularly like that culture of anime fans right now. Please tell me which order to watch this in, right? Because it often, especially with shit like Monogatari, it does become that like, you watch this season, then you watch that episode, then you watch half of this OVA, then you watch the rest of season 2. Like
half of this OVA.
like no, thank you. That's not how I want to do. I just I just go. Okay, what's the first thing that came out? Bakemonogatari. Okay, we start there.
Yeah. The only thing I think it's acceptable to watch in a different order would be something like ReZero, because you can cut off the episodes where our main character Subaru dies, and you can see what the people around him seeing, with him just slowly going crazier and crazier. But if you don't watch the deaths and only watch the episode he survives, it's like, holy shit, what the fuck is going wrong with this motherfucker?
Yeah,
I did that, and it was
down.
highly entertaining as well. Better than the actual anime. Next one.
Okay. So no, definitely. Just Kiss of Monogatari, high recommendation. I don't care if you haven't seen any Monogatari, just get into it, whether you want to start with Kisa or not. That's up to you.
High praise.
High praise. One of my, probably up there with one of my favorite anime movies. I definitely did. I gave it I gave it the first one an 8, and I gave 2 and 3 a 9. I absolutely love the movies.
Really high praise.
Yes. But anyways, the other one that I was going to watch was, or that I was going to talk about, was Lupin the Third, Goemon Ishikawa's Spray of Blood. So yet another Lupin movie. And this is technically the second movie in a kind of
trilogy.
In a trilogy of movies by Takeshi Koike. Takeshi Koike. The guy who did the Red Line, among other things. And he has this really interesting take on Lupin, because it's back to the more like adult themes of Lupin that I like. So, more...
The first season that we covered.
Yes. So more alcohol, more drugs, not so much sex in this one, but, I mean, it's about Goemon. What do you expect? But there is definitely violence, and there is definitely gore. So, let's just see here. As you said, summary from Mal. It's from 2017, and it's by TMS Entertainment. And, summary from Mal is Lupin's friend, the samurai Goemon Ishikawa, takes a job as bodyguard for a Yakuza boss. But a brutal assassin kills the Yakuza, and Goemon is honor-bound to track him down. So, basically...
There was no summary on Anime Planet for this movie.
Yeah.
How dare they?
I know, right? Shocking. It's definitely... that's the TLDR version. What basically happens is that Goemon, he is hired by the Yakuza because the boss really admires his skills. The rest of the Yakuza really doesn't understand why he wants to drag this fucking samurai who doesn't belong in this time period into this shit, so they don't really like him. The boss insists on this happening. In the meantime, we have this guy, this giant bear of a man called Hawk. He goes to sabotage the ship that they're on. They're on like a cruise ship of some sort. At the same time as Lupin is stealing.
This is kind of like one of the episodes from the first season.
Yes, and as Lupin and the gang Lupin and Fujiko is there to steal the money, and but Hawk he's actually there, or rather, what he wants to do is he wants to sniff out Lupin and the gang because he is on a mission to kill them all. In the chaos that ensues, because he basically destroys the entire ship, the Yakuza boss is killed, and the rest of the Yakuza just leaves their boss to die and blame Goemon for their death. But Goemon promises that he will avenge them. So he gets, from the next in line at the Yakuza, he gets 3 days to kill this bear of a man, who promptly shows up to kill Lupin and Fujiko and Jigen. They literally don't stand a chance against this fucking monster of a man. So they try to run. But eventually Goemon shows up to save the day. Or so he thinks. Except for the fact that this man is the gang's superior in absolutely everything. Even Goemon does not stand a chance against this bear of a man. He can't even slash him. He just absolutely, he beats Goemon something fierce. And when Goemon tries to slash him, he just grabs his sword and starts wailing his axes at the hilt of the sword because he can't break Santetsu can. But he instead just breaks the hilt of the sword. The handle. And he just absolutely destroys Goemon. Who they manage to get away from him because of Senigata shows up to arrest Hawk. And Goemon basically has to go through his typical training montage, except this time it's more, rather than training, it's just self-torture. He drops giant logs on himself. He gets beat up in fights and shit like that, because he is trying to figure something out. He goes up on his giant rock out in the sea, and then a shark jumps up, like we've seen him do before, but rather than slice the shark, he just gets bit by it. So he looks like a completely broken man after having his sword and everything. Basically just being shown as this, basically being faced with an opponent that it seems like none of them can beat at all. He seems
It reminds me of Jaws from the James Bond movies.
Yeah, yes, definitely. I would say that is a very apt description to that, because he is essentially indestructible. He is like an ex-marine or something like that. I don't remember. Who was he was assumed to have gone crazy and just murdered everyone, but he was assumed to have been killed. But as it turns out, he's been rescued by some guy who's now has him as his leash, has him on a leash to do shit for him, and he wants to get rid of Lupin. So yeah, and it just goes into some absolutely gory stuff. The fights here, they're not just he got sliced and there's some blood, and no. We're talking arms are getting chopped off, Goemon gets his shoulder ripped off so that you can see the bone inside of him. Like, it's brutal. The fight choreography is amazing. But the fucking
I've been really dying to watch not only the Kizumonogatari trilogy, but also this Lupin movie trilogy.
Yeah.
And with this, I would love, now that you're coming to the end of the your movie quest here, after next episode, I'd like to do your favorite movies, your best recommendations, and then obviously, since you've watched like every Lupin movie, and we love Lupin on this cast, we're all Lupin fans. I'd like to hear your like a top 5 Lupin movies, in your opinion, of course.
Of course, yeah, no, definitely.
Do that for another one, and then we'll think of another Tori topic for you to do every episode.
I think I have one in mind, but I'll discuss that at a later point. Yeah. The only thing that's a little bit annoying, because obviously Takeshi Koike has announced the 3rd installment in this series, which is Fujigomina's Lies, or the Lies of Fujigomina, which I sadly won't get to on this quest because it won't be out. So, you know, but you bet your ass that as soon as I can, I'm watching that too.
Well, I mean, we can all watch it.
Yeah,
it will be a fun discussion for Jikominen also, especially because it instead of people getting chopped down and showing the bones, they will show another type of bone in a Fujikomi movie. But I have high expectations for
get a different kind of bone.
Yeah, no, but like,
by the trailers, yeah, I've watched the trailers of Goemon. It looks really awesome, but Iron Age Star, the love. I know, Lupin. You need to watch it without any, goal in mind to just watch Lupin because it is fun to watch. But I feel like with the movies, I would love to make the the cinematography of Lupin. That will take a while.
Yeah.
Until I come to you. At least we have a Lupin movie special coming out soon. We're gonna do soon, so at least it will be a start.
Yeah. Nah, I just want to end it with one thing. I will say this: the story in this movie is kind of weak. Just because I don't want to overhype it too much. It is very straightforward.
Well, action movie.
Yeah, exactly. It is an action movie. It is very weak, and it is kind of cliche in a lot of ways. But it is one of those things where it's like, you watch this for the action, right? You watch this because you want to see fucking Goemon slice the head off of like fucking 3 Yakuza dudes and one's chopping people's arms off, fucking, or going up against this bear of a man who seems nigh indestructible. It's not so much because you're sitting there going, oh, that is a really interesting plot twist. There are no plot twists.
Yeah, well, I mean, very James Bond-like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I mean, you could put that stamp on, like, you could put that stamp, fuck it, I keep switching into Norwegian. You could put that stamp on, like, pretty much all of Lupin. It is very James Bond inspired.
Very James Bond, yeah. Alright,
well, yeah.
How about Boy and the Beast?
Boy and the Beast. Okay. So, Boy and the Beast is, that's the, fucking, oh my god. Mamoru. That's the one. Movie that I said that I still had to watch, and, yeah, it was a good movie. I enjoyed it. It's,
the ending is very Mamoru Oshii-like, right?
It is very Mamoru Oshii-like.
It is very self-contempt with what happened. And
yeah.
Done. It's like, wait, done? What do you mean done? It's like, and they lived happy, like a happy life in Japan. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
what conclusion is that?
I like what they did. I like the main character finding himself, trying to find himself, going through hard times, trying to find himself, learning to be stronger. I like all of these things. I also like the shock elements in when they start to, add in the whole, like, void and, like, dark feelings and whatnot that they did for the characters. It's a plot, like, since Dan kind of goes to the Beast world, finds his way to the Beast world. they're like, they believe that humans will eventually like become evil, consumed by desire and turn evil. So, I like the whole thing that evolves into. But then, like Hickey said, it kind of eventually just turns into, and then they solved it, and then everyone lived happily ever after. And I'm like, what? It's like, it was good up until that point, but it's like, really?
No, it's a good movie. It's just very self-contained.
Yeah.
Very
It's like-
Mamoru Oshii.
Fucking like pat on the back, like, we did it, boys. And like, what?
Yeah, and you're like, I mean, sure, okay.
Meanwhile,
Yeah, I'm
fucking,
glad you liked it. It's a fun movie.
it is. It is. Like, I don't think I've disliked any Mamoru Oshii movies. So it's Mamoru Oshii. What the fuck am I on about? Mamoru Hosoda. I mean, I don't think I've disliked the Mamoru Oshii movie either, but Mamoru Hosoda was the one I'm talking about this time. I don't think I've disliked any of his movies that I've seen, but it's like,
I wasn't saying anything on total purpose about you messing up the names.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
man.
fine.
Yeah, whatever. It happens.
I was just sitting here drinking my scotch. I'm like, this is awesome.
It happens. They're both called Mamoru. Basic. All Japanese look the same. Okay.
Oh, God.
Let's fix this with racism.
Let's get the superior genetics over here.
Whoa. That's not cool.
Oh, that's where across the line was the Nazi reference?
Yes, that's right. Anyways, that was my movie updates. I don't really have anything else to say.
All right. Oh, with that, I'll play the drop and we can move on. Hickey, you know what? Fuck it, loop on drop. There we go. After talking Lupin, how could we not play a Lupin drop?
That's right.
Alright, so, episode 50, let's stay in the mainstream here. This is JD and Hickey's Manga Manhwa Checkout. This is our recurring segment. It's not new anymore.
I was about to point that out. You keep writing new. I don't say the word new for like the past 10 casts since the beginning of it.
Yeah. This is where each episode we highlight a manga, manhwa, or webtoon, where we read the first volume or a certain amount of chapters. Then we give our impressions. This is our 10th checkout. This is over the webtoon unOrdinary. This was my choice. I wanted to do something really popular, stay in the mainstream for this special episode. It's a webtoon written and illustrated by Uru-chan. Released in 2016, it's ongoing. It's one of the most popular webtoons out there. It always seems to make the top 5. I've never read it, and I thought, what better time than the present? The summary, I had to take this from Webtoon, even though it is on Anime Planet, but there is no summary. There is a summary, but I didn't like it. So, nobody paid much attention to John, just a normal teenager at a high school where the social elite happen to possess unthinkable powers and abilities. So yes, it's a superhero type show, or webtoon. But John's got a secret past that threatens to bring down the school's whole social order, and much more. Fulfilling his destiny won't be easy, though, because there are battles, frenemies, and deadly conspiracies around every corner. So, Hickey, what were your thoughts?
Let's start with the word frenemies. Please never say that again.
You don't like frenemies?
I don't like the word frenemies. It sounds like a teenager girl, or would say, and regardless.
I don't know. I think it really fits a good chunk of what unOrdinary entails.
I don't think anyone is friends with anyone in that show.
Okay, well, all right. That's
they explain it. They explain like, oh, if you have compatible powers, or like your power level is close to another person, you will get along because of that, not because friendship is awesome. So I don't think they kind of show it with a character that becomes an ordinary person. People are not friends with each other. Regardless, yeah, I quite enjoyed this one. Feels very amateur. Let's pull that out of the window. But it doesn't hurt the webtoon. Because the author, Uru, she knows her boundaries, the boundaries of her talent and skills. She understands very well the fundamentals of getting a story and a storytelling. That's why she doesn't try to force anything she cannot do, like some authors out there like to do. She understands how the characters work. They are well built. And she never tries to do something that will either lock the story in the future and she'll have to pull out some dumb shit to explain what is going on. It happened once only. And yeah, aside that, very good storytelling. I kind of don't like the power limitation thing. Let's put it like that, because
What do you
what
mean?
happened is, I mean that there's when you do superpowers or superhero shows, you
Okay.
need to limit the powers, right? If you have the thing we don't like with Isekai right now, where the characters are so powerful and the power balance goes out of the window because the guy only needs to breathe.
It's not even isekai. It's shonen in general tends to.
Yeah,
As soon as
yeah.
it hits that level of power, your suspension of disbelief and just enjoyment plummets because everyone's too powerful. It doesn't match the universe. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, but to combat that, you can have limitations. You can put limitations on those. I believe the best kind of limitation is an individual limitation, and I believe in our media, the media we like. I think the best one made so far is Darker Than Black. Each individual has an individual power and an individual limitation to that power. Other ways is making a more broad limitation, just like she chose to do here. And I have a few problems with it. It's a caste system.
Yep.
But it's not in the sense of a caste system because you don't have, let's say, mystical beliefs on the people condition. It's a power condition, and it's very authoritarian. You don't do bad shit because you know the person above you can blow your head off. And you probably won't be able to blow their head off like in a normal caste system. And I have a problem with that because I went to college and studied those kind of things, right? And it's my academic specialization. It is the
I gotcha.
So yeah, it's the social and constitutional tissues of society, and that creates a lot of problems with the time. As the time progresses, you have problems in the tissue, the social tissue of the world she built. You start to see some ripples of that, because since you have a caste system based on power and authoritarianism, every single member of a said class is inside of a bubble, and inside of that bubble, they express the all-might powerful beings they are, and their authoritarianism. The problem is with bubbles is one day they burst, right?
Yeah.
And with this show, the problem is when they burst, you either have a character feeling very either downplayed, scared all the time, or they are just dicks. Or the contrary, they were dicks and they try to be cool again, like be a cool person, but that makes them only sound more like a dick.
Are you referring to Arlo in this case?
You have Arlo,
character
you
of Arlo?
have Laser Guy. I think you're not in that part yet. Some stuff happened. But,
Okay.
Regardless, after the point you are, I believe, the Laser Guy who almost blew John's head off at some point, he starts
Oh
to...
no, I'm past that.
Yeah,
I'm way past
he
that.
starts to act like a good guy, but he feels like he's a dick. Everyone looks like a dick, because of that. It's not people who are. It's not a. It doesn't seem like a social condition that was bestowed upon them. It just like people are dicks all the time.
What I liked about this was I agree. Its simplicity is its strength, and that has a lot to do with the author knowing her boundaries. I like the twist on unOrdinary being the fact that our main character doesn't have powers. Or at least that's what we're supposed to believe, right?
Yep.
Almost immediately I believe it's the third chapter. It's immediately, there's the illustration that everyone with powers' eyes glow, and we see his eyes glow in the third chapter. I mean, that's just very apparent immediately. So there's a lot of immediate hints throughout the show, throughout the webtoon. And as you progress through the story, these hints become more and more apparent. And I quite like that. So we have a society based on the power hierarchy. It's not so much society has rules, it's just who's ever the strongest makes the rules, right?
Yeah.
And within this, we have subplots developing. We have an evil enemy / organization. Not quite sure yet. There's 150 chapters. Hickey, you've completely caught up to recent. I'm over 100 in. So we know a lot that has been revealed, and nothing surprises you, but you do like the reveals. At least that's my take on it. Do you agree with that?
Oh, yes. Like I said, the complexity of a story, I said that multiple times, the complexity of a story is not much in the story itself, but in the storytelling. The storytelling needs to be deep, or deep enough to the simple story you're trying to tell. The story here is fairly simple. It's very planned out, it's nicely planned out, and the only thing you need to do with the story is follow up. The storytelling, it is deep enough or to the story it is trying to tell. So you have John, you discover John condition. You understand why he doesn't. He wants to be a powerless person, or at least look like one.
Right.
You understand that very well, and I like John because of that. Because he has an individual limitation to his power. It's
John is a character. Now, there have been a few instances of the character names that are quite funny.
Yes,
John's father. John's father is unOrdinary, and what this means in this world is you're powerless. You are one of the few that has no powers. And they call them just straight up, you're a cripple. And they bully the piss out of you because you are the lowest person in the caste system, right? And people treat each other based on their power levels, essentially. If you have a weak power, you're a weak person. There's nothing you can do about it, and the people of higher power will proceed to just beat you down, right? It's it's exactly what it's. Imagine the world of My Hero Academia, but everyone has the mentality of what you think a society would react if everyone had superpowers, which in a lot of ways, I like this more than My Hero Academia.
It looks more like Vigilante, My Hero Academia Vigilante. It's kind of reminiscent of that.
It almost brings a sense of reality to it. Like, I believe this is how people would react in this case, right?
Yeah.
If society was like this.
We talk a little bit off recording, like this looks like a lot of 1984, where you are bound to a society. You cannot think one way, and you start to look around and see if you met eyes with someone, and through their eyes, see if they think the same thing you're thinking.
Right. Yeah.
And also because you have a banned book, it reminds me a lot of Fahrenheit. We could
Oh,
go.
I know that. I know that sense. Okay.
Yes, yes. You haven't read Fahrenheit, but you understand.
I know. I know a
could-
little bit about what Fahrenheit's about. I wasn't sure if you were referencing.
Yeah, I could go with a real life thing, but let's not, do that. But yeah, it sounds like Fahrenheit, and that's good for the story and storytelling. The social tissue I was talking about is good to the story in that sense, right? Because you see the ripples start to appear when we start to understand what is going on with this book and what's going on with John. And also, the weird gang that is going around.
Yeah.
The people trying to act as superheroes. Those are ripples in the social tissue that leads up if you don't solve them in a way or another, or you either accept them or eradicate them. If you don't do that, you have a institutional rupture. Everything becomes soup. Let's just say that. And you don't want things...
It's very interesting. It really draws me into
Yeah,
the societal hierarchy of it all. What makes John so special as a character and how he's written is he's not your typical, well, let's call it anime hero. He's an anti-hero.
I think not even an anti-hero. I like to see him as the rightful villain.
He sure seems that way.
It is that kind of villain.
He seems like a tale of two characters, right?
He's a villain, but you can disagree with him most of the time.
Oh, yeah.
There's one character with blue hair. He just beats her up, and she never does anything. She just complains. It's the only instance where John looks like a dick, because the girl has cure powers, and she's like, why this is happening? Why this shouldn't be happening? John just slaps her, and then she's like, you slapped me. He slaps her again. He's like, do your fucking job. That's the only part where John actually feels like a dick.
Well, John, the way that this, I do commend the author for this, because I haven't read a lot of stories where the character of John has hardcore mental issues. Just ridiculous. Where he's scarred from his past so much that he just can't help himself, right?
Yeah, like I said, the limitations to his power are individual, or the psychological
I really like it.
Trauma that get. The problem is, the other people, they are stuck in the social tissue mentality. And while it works to a point where we go to the book and ideals and how society works, it is very bad to the power balance and limitations, because at some point you get stuck inside of a bubble. After John start going into his crusade against people hurting, oh my god, the name, people hurting Serafina.
Well, you could just say Sarah. It's fine.
Sarah, just put that out of the way. The characters and names could feel like 2010's Tumblr.
Yeah. John's father is W.H. Doe, so the main character's name in the story is John Doe. There is an enemy that they're trying to search out at one point called Waldo, and then there's a line that leads to "Where's Waldo?"
Yeah.
It's not, I wouldn't say cringy, but it's funny. It's definitely comical.
I mean, a little bit more of a work in the names. just thinking. It's just like, you should try a little bit harder. Regardless, you get stuck into a bubble of the high tier people.
Yeah.
Because of the kind of society you're seeing.
Why don't you want to be part of this caste system? It is your responsibility to be part of this caste system. We can't out you because of your caste, because of the caste system. You're weaker now, so now you're further down in the caste system automatically, and everyone will treat you as such. All these things just come together in a nice little spider web that all makes sense. Nothing's so complex that you start poking holes in it. Everything's revealed in a way that it's Tori, I really think you'd like this.
Yeah.
I maybe would.
Like I said, the biggest problem is when you're transitioning between those bubbles. Because inside of those bubbles, people think they are invincible.
Yes.
But
Until
the problem
they're
is
put in their
they are
place.
still in the cased system of power, and there will be a bigger shark in the ocean to bear them and to kill them or eat them, whatever. That's a big problem, because at some point the ripples in the society tissue, they are so big it's hard to ignore, and those bubbles start to burst.
Well,
When you come back, when you kind
There
of
is
in
an-
this logic of the high tier, and the high tier limitation is the almighty fucking awesome.
I get what you're saying, and the bubble is going to burst at some point, but
It is already
there's-
like it burst.
Well, it's already
when
bursting.
When Serafina, that thing happens to Serafina, and you come back down to those bubbles, and you see how the mentality of people acting that. So it's not
Well, it's done-
actually
it's done
it's
really
not
well,
actually a power limitation. There's no really a power limitation. So when if two bubbles are colliding with each other, you see the power limitations. If they are not, if they are alone, you don't see any limitations anymore. Because again, we are talking about people with powers. Your power can be just shine your hands like you're basically a human lantern, but you still have powers, right? If you are
Right.
inside of the bubble, there are no limitations at all. The problem is, since you've seen how the power case works, and you see how those things are, you outside kind of burst the bubble when you start to look at the characters just like I see, or just like John sees. John doesn't see people as the fruit of a society that led them to those kind of thoughts. They see everyone as a fucking dick and ass, and they should be punished for that.
Yeah, I
And you start
really
to
enjoy
feel
John's.
like that, and I think that is bad in the stance of power limitations and caste systems of the society that was built. On the other hand, with the superheroes and how people perceive the book written by John's father, that is very good, right?
Right. Yeah. No, John's mental state is a breath of fresh air, even from a shonen perspective, or even a story perspective, because this kid was beaten down when he was really young. Events happen, and that leads to his current mental state. And what I really like is when he puts on his normal personality, right? Let's call it that. There's white text. But in his inner monologue, or when he's pissed off, it becomes a black text.
Are you sure the black bubbles are not his real personality?
Well, that's where the story kind of flips. Like, is it a facade? Is that who he is? Is that who he's trying to be? You know, not to reveal too much there. But the difference between the white and black text, I really like. It's a really nice touch.
Yeah, it is.
Between John's character, and even when he kind of goes off the rails, there are things that make you uncomfortable, but that really just adds to his character, right?
Yeah.
And I'm very, like, you can kind of see where it's going. Like, will he say this at one point? How will it bite him in the ass? Because it will happen, right?
Yeah, of course. His father already, gave.
Yeah,
the,
I mean, the warning's
the
already
lie.
been there, right?
Yeah.
He's like, you stop fucking lying. Like, I get it. Like, his father just goes, look, I used to be able to help him. Now he's out of my control, but I can still try and give him advice. And just that one moment of John's father being there, I really enjoyed. Because his father is powerless, just like John.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with except the name. I don't have a problem with John.
Yeah, well, the name's a different story, but yeah.
I don't really have a problem with John and his particular story with Sarah. My problem really lays down into how the power limitation in caste system was perceived. I believe it was perceived in a very innocent way. Let's put it like that.
I disagree with that, because there's that subplot that will turn it on its heels.
Yeah, I know, but like, I think when the idea come to be, the problems I pointed out weren't in question. Especially the problems I pointed out are more like, oh, I went to university and this is my academic specialty, so I'm analyzing it probably way more than a normal person would, right? So I believe it when they say it was very innocent. It was a innocent way of doing things. I still think is a good idea. I just believe that I'm talking now as a specialist, and it flicks me like it really gets to me because of that. But aside that, yeah, it's cool. The biggest problem to a normal person, not a specialist in those kind of studies, would see is, like I said, perceiving everyone as a dick, not as a fruit of society, or built to be that, or taught to think that way. No, just humans are dick, and if you give them power, they would just be dicks. Unless there's someone with more power than them to punch them or something, or slap them in the face.
I saw a lot of similarities just in like a school hierarchy with Girls of the Wilds, and that's why I recommend it to you, Tori.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
it has a lot of similarities in its story structure, but because of its simplicity and how strong that is, I think you might like this more.
I mean, that's not impossible.
In Girls of the Wild, you also have the kind of the power case, but in Girls of the Wild, people like try, and that's why I said that's why people there you don't have the bubbles, because people try, they want to be strong. This one, people don't really try that much. It's like if some
so beaten down all the time, they
don't try, right?
Yeah, it's a different world.
Like, that's why they keep being encapsulated in those bubbles, and once you go down from the high tiers to the middle tiers or the low tiers, you pass through the bubbles and you burst them. And you see people as, oh, well, they're just a bunch of dicks. Alright. But again, it is an exception. Like I said at the beginning of the cast, I feel like I'm an exception in a lot of things. This might be one, because it is my specialization in college.
Right. Hickey, I am God.
I am God.
Just to finish this off, I think Hickey and I both recommend this webtoon highly.
Yes.
What did you think of the Clockwork Orange moment?
Which one?
Where we find out a little bit of John's past, and he kind of has to go into this 3-month hiatus.
Like I said before, I don't have a problem with his story. I think it's good. His power limitation is very good. I hoped everyone had a power limitation like that. Sarah had one with her mother, but whatever.
Well, she's kind of breaking through boundaries, and events happen, and she's I like where her story's going.
Yeah,
and it clashes with John's in a lot of ways. It makes for a good duo dynamic and story progression, because you just want to know when multiple events are gonna collide, right? But I want to know your thoughts. This part hit me a lot, was where, because I don't know, maybe it's because I went through something similar in my life, not to obviously that extent, but
someone tried to
right.
You,
well,
betrayed you.
Well, no, I like when he has to go through this 3-month thing.
Yep.
With the authorities, let's call it. And it reminded me a lot of Clockwork Orange and similar events I had to go through in my life.
Yeah, the rehabilitation.
Yeah, rehabilitation. Societal rehabilitation. What did you think of that? Because the more, I don't know if they're going to explore more about like what went down there, but enough was revealed where I'm just like, holy shit. Society's more fucked up than I thought.
How do I put that? It created worse things than it intended.
Yeah, it really messed him up bad.
At least in Clockwork Tower, the guy, when he's out, he's like, I am happy again.
Society is fantastic. Woohoo!
Yeah, I'm gonna get a job. It's in John's case, it's he doesn't accept it because of I guess this is the only moment I can give you that, or I can
Okay.
give the author that as well. Although I don't think she'll ever listen to this.
Uru-chan, if you're listening, I'm gonna pour more scotch with that, by the way.
I can give you that. Is that because he was raised in such a logic of if people with power has all the rights and they are always correct, when he's faced with the shock treatment of seeing what he was doing through the eyes of other people or through his own eyes, it creates a bigger conflict, bigger inner conflict that extends through a lot of times, especially when he decides to use his powers and he sees the people he hurt a lot in front of him, things like that. That's why I believe it created a worse being than it was intended to. It was intended to correction as a correction, but it created a far more violent John, and we see that
instead of
John doesn't
instead
go
of him
around
just living with his mistake, now he's been kind of brainwashed and conflicted, and it's creating a monster.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's fine. He went to rehabilitation and he cannot use his powers like 100% because of that. But he became more violent because it is a conflict, not because he thinks he's a bad person or anything he did was bad. It is the inner conflict because he believes strong people can do anything. Even though
he does.
The officer says, even though the officer says, you can be all powerful, but the law will be, over you. That is true to our society, but not so much in that society. And so he's like, well,
as we've seen from the Waldo little contained arc. I think my least favorite has definitely been the inserting of the character. I think her name's Reina, becoming a superhero.
That's why I said
totally
people look like
that.
dicks all the fucking time because of that. The almighty, all-powerful being deciding, now I'm humble because I read a book and I'll go beat up people because I'm the strongest. It didn't change. The logic didn't change at all.
And you see how people actually look upon people stronger than them, and it leads to a number of different mentalities, which I really enjoy.
Yep. I guess.
We can keep talking about.
My least enjoyable thing is
for
that
a long time.
There's not a lot of rape. I believe it should have a lot of rape in that kind of society.
Ooh.
But again, I'm talking about it as a specialist. Again,
a specialist in what?
In studying laws and dealing with actual real rape, as I did in my internship. And the logic of power is very present.
Took a sip of scotch with that comment because you're not wrong.
Yeah. It just sounds kind of bad to leave it at I'm a specialist.
Yeah. I'm a specialist in rape.
And the logic of power is very present, especially in cults. Let's put it like that. There's a lot of things that happen like that. The all-powerful being like the leader of a cult, for example, they will often indulge in sexual things you shouldn't do with other human beings. I'm not even talking about rape per se, but other things you shouldn't do with anyone except the person who really, really likes it.
Do you think eventually the topic of rape will be brought up in unOrdinary?
No, because there was a happening in the show that would definitely be a good excuse for rape, and John going crazy, and she didn't do it, so I don't believe so.
Okay. I wouldn't be shocked if in time this does occur. Like let's say it follows the characters through into an older age. Right now, no. However, it's because the show shows a lot of, it's not a, or the show, the webtoon is not afraid of showing us there is no gender difference, right?
Yeah,
at all.
I mean, there's only the powerful.
There's only the powerful and the weak, right? It doesn't matter if you're
Yeah.
a man or a woman. I mean, that much is very clear. In multiple instances, the part that made me kind of cringe, but I also understood because of the character development, was John freaking out on this one chick. I'll just leave it at that. He beats women beat the shit out of him.
He's very violent. He's
Well,
not satisfied.
I mean,
like,
we've seen multiple instances of, 1, 2, 3 women just beating the shit out of him, and then the one instance, it's funny how the mind works, and just you and I, just society in general, and how we viewpoint things. I saw 1, 2, 3 women beat up John, like break his arm, show him no mercy, but then as soon as the script is flipped, I'm just going, oh shit, you've gone too far, bro.
No, like
even though the
it
society show, like, I should be looking at it from the perspective of their society, where okay, it shouldn't matter, right?
You should
Well, I mean,
really look at
if you
true
really want to
gender
ask
equality.
me, I will abstain on saying if it happens or if it should happen or not, because I advocate for the equality of genders in all means.
Punch
Well,
girls.
we saw
hard as you punch
we saw it
guys.
in
It's
Girls of the
more-
Wilds as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more like John is very. It comes back to the training, the rehabilitation of John, because again he's in that logic of power, and he doesn't believe what he did was bad, but his memory
Right.
and mind thinks it was. How do you think someone with that conflict would resolve any inner conflict? By asserting his ways and his thinking, his
Yeah.
mentality, and John does that by violence. People beat John.
I
and
like how this
of
all
course,
was spurred on.
Of course,
uh,
like they break an arm. It's even like it's very bad. Like people break arms. They do pranks. They actually beat up him. But John, he goes around beat up people. He almost breaks necks. He opens bullet wounds on people. He breaks both legs. When the person is down, bleeding down, he's keep kicking the person
An
who's
extra
bleeding
good
out
kick. Just like,
to
fuck
break a
you.
few to break a few ribs or something like that. It is not that he's violent. He's violent because that's the way he found to assert that what he thinks is the right thing.
It's good.
Yeah, John is a very good character. The biggest problem is people looking like dicks. If you studied society, political science, sociology, you probably think like me because of the social tissue that was.
Have
laid out.
I ever mentioned I have a major in anthropology?
Yes,
Okay.
and you didn't come to the same conclusion as I did. But I have
not to the
but I
same
have-
extent.
Yeah,
No.
but I have law, so like
You're looking at it from a different perspective as me, for sure.
definitely. But yeah, and if you listened to us and liked it, went you look up the webtoon and also liked it, remember, Uru-chan is American, so you can go to Instagram and Twitter and send her a message saying, I really liked your things. Now I will assert my dominance with beating up people on the streets. Well, I mean, I live in Brazil, so that kind of happened from time to time. But regardless.
Brazil, this is normal.
You've
Not
inspired me
normal.
to attain true strength.
Not normal. I won't say it's normal, but
Oh, man.
it happens.
All right. I think this is the longest webtoon we've spoken about on the cast. I really enjoyed this. If you enjoyed it, like Hickey said, you can also hit us up on Twitter, Redleaf Retrocast, @BowlingJD. Tori, Hickey, plug your Twitter accounts right now so people can hit us up more often than not.
At Tori RLR.
At Mighty Hickey.
There we go. All right, you can also find them in the description of every episode below. And with that, let's get on to our topic. Holy crap, we've taken forever here. This is a fun cast. Let's go. You know what? I'm gonna play this one.
Go Speed Racer, go Speed Racer, go Speed Racer, go!
Okay. As I'm making my notes here. Whew.
Talking about fun casts.
Talking about fun casts, indeed. So with episode 50, want to do something special. So this is a big milestone. Obviously not for the Red Leaf Retrocast as a whole. We've done well over 150 episodes to date. But for the anime cast, we've made it to episode 50. And running bi-weekly, that means we've been going quite a long time. I believe
2 years.
June. I believe the anime cast is now at 2 years.
Yeah, we totally skipped our anniversary. Regardless.
No. I believe June 1st. This is the date we're recording here. This is our 2-year anniversary episode as well.
Really?
Did you
Yeah.
just
Oh my
date us,
God.
JD? God.
That wasn't planned.
It wasn't planned. We were supposed to do this a week ago.
That is true. It wasn't nothing. I really June 1st. I don't know our anniversary.
No, to be honest, I don't either. I think we skipped our first anniversary as well, without really talking about it. So hey,
Kinda. I'm gonna double check when our first episode was for anime.
Yeah, regardless, going
but
on with our mainstream topics and talking about fun casts and
June
anniversaries of this
12th
cast.
was our very first episode, but we recorded a week before that, I believe.
probably yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, next week.
Yep.
Next week. Nice. All right, this became our anniversary podcast.
Yay! Let me drink some more
Yay.
scotch to that.
Happy birthday to us.
I'm getting
Happy
smashed
birthday to
with a cold. This is quite good. I'll be doing this in 2 weeks for the hentai episode. Hooray! This is my second glass, by the way. I don't think you're supposed to drink scotch by the glass, but it's happening. But yeah, this is a recounting of our favorite shows, our favorite casts, maybe our favorite topics that we've done. I wrote down my top 3, kind of just my favorite episodes we've done. I definitely want to bring up the Sailor Moon episode.
Oh, don't worry. I made a highlight list.
You made a highlight list? Well, Hickey,
Yeah.
why don't you run down what we're gonna
highlight
do
list?
here? Yeah, let's do it.
All right. The first one
This is
is
a celebration, bitch.
Yeah, Future Boy Conan. Very fun cast to make. Very fun show as well. Second one, Bad Labor with Bacon from Nerdon and Other Nonsense. Also very fun and very good movies as well.
I want to talk about the Future Boy Conan cast, actually.
God damn it, JD.
We got
Slow
through
down.
one.
Slow down with the booze.
Well, no, just real quick. I enjoyed the cast a lot because Future Boy Conan's one of my favorite shows of all time. And just like how with our former host Joe, we'll bring him up with the Evangelion, when you cover a show that's one of your favorites of all time, you always seem to have regrets after the cast, right? Hickey,
Yeah.
you brought it up as one of our best episodes, right?
Yeah, very
and
fun.
I
think we talked a little bit about animation as well and animation techniques in the middle of it.
Yes.
yeah
Very, very fun.
yeah. Personally, I have a little regret with the episode because I felt like I didn't do the show enough justice because of how much I love it and how much I think it deserves high praise. I think I was too reserved in my review of it. Yeah, there's negatives in the show, but because I love it so much and I respect it so much, like if I was to redo an episode, I think that would be my pick, even though when I was editing it and re-listening to it, it is one of our best ones. But from my perspective of how I reviewed the show, I think I didn't do it enough justice.
Okay, see, I get you. The only kind of thing I wanna go into, because as you said, it is one of your favorite shows, and I will go on record. I've said it to these guys before, but I will go on record say that no matter what, I will never do a podcast on my favorite anime. I refuse, because I'm gonna hate it. Not because I can't talk about my show, because I love it, but because I hate what it turns into. I've tried to make a video about my favorite show. I wrote a script. It was almost 5,000 words long. I read it again. I hate it. I can't stand it. I don't think I get my points across at all in it. And that's kind of the problem. I love it too much. I feel like I can't do it justice. No matter what I say, I feel like I'm just there like, am I hyping it too much up? No, I'm not going hard enough. Am I though? Should I go back here? Should I do this? Should I do that? Like, it feels weird, right? Because nobody else is gonna have my experience with this show,
Right?
So I feel like I want to get my experience out there, but there's also this like thing. It's like, if you just start praising and praising and praising something over and over and over, people get tired of it. That's like, you want to hold back.
That's why I kind of took a step back during that episode. Like, if I had a redo, I would definitely say more. I think that's where my regret lies.
No regrets. I'll also never do my favorite show. And that won't be a regret. Also, fuck you, Tori. You can talk about Lupin every single fucking episode, so it doesn't really matter.
That's not my favorite show.
I know, but
it's definitely
close.
one of your favorite series of all time.
Hell yeah. No, fuck. I enjoy it. I enjoy the shit out of it. But it's not my favorite show.
Like, if I was to rank a top 10, which we gotta do at some point, I've gotten tons of emails. We haven't been getting the hate mail like we used to when we first started.
Damn.
Which I'm very shocked about.
We need to improve.
Because bringing up the Sailor Moon episode right fast. That was one of our first episodes. I believe it was, episode 5 or something?
So that.
It was episode 6. We got so much hate mail just from that episode alone that we had to do a hate mail episode, which was really funny to reread on the cast. I don't think we'll be doing that again, but it was funny regardless. The emails that we usually get revolve around what are our favorite and top anime of all time. So I think slowly but surely, one of our podcasts, we're going to make a conglomeration episode of our... I don't think we're going to make, the whole... Every podcast and every YouTuber that involves anime, everyone makes like a top 10 or top 50. I think we're going to make a conglomeration... kind of like a points-based system of kind of the Red Leaf Retrocast's top 25.
Okay.
We'll just kind of run down the list.
Mm-hmm. And just allow me to use this moment to, if you are at all interested in in this, if you want to see what our previous top 5 of the top 5 shows we've ever covered on this show, or this podcast on an anime we covered on a points-based system by the 3 hosts here, you can check out my YouTube channel at youtube.com/c/anime top scholar, and you can go back to one of my earlier videos, which is a top 5 Red Leaf Retrocast anime we have talked about.
Yeah, good plug.
Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah,
segue.
you can also find the link in every description of every episode for Tori's YouTube. But yeah, that's been most of the emails we've been getting a lot lately. Is they'd like to see a conglomerate list from us. So I think that's what we'll do on a future episode. It'll be one of our main topics in between our
High School
season stuff.
More to the future. And
Bebop High School will happen eventually.
At some point, it's going to happen. We just keep pushing it back because we have other things to do.
Yeah. Well, now that we're on that topic, we have from our previous contest, one of the entry points was to recommend an anime, And we've put the top 3 recommended anime from that list into future casts. So whether it's a year from now, 6 months from now, it will be done. It's all marked down in our schedule. So okay, Hickey, let's get back on topic here of the celebration.
Right.
Celebrate. Where's my scotch?
Second one, Pet Labor with Bacon from Nerdon and Other Nonsense.
BCom, fellow anime radical. Love that guy.
Yeah, very fun cast, especially talking about the movies, because they have nothing to do with Pet Labor at all. They look more like Ghost in the Shell. That has nothing to do with Ghost in the Shell at all.
That's with that Mamoru Oshii guy, right?
Yeah, no, you mean Mamoru Soda, don't you?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Next one, Speed Racer cast. The confusion about if with the dub and sub thing.
My fucking God. I hated that. They were talking about a completely different show than what I watched, because they watched it dubbed. I did not. No one told me we were watching it dubbed. I just get told these things on the podcast.
But that's the beauty of it. I really think we should have at least a host. No, I like kind of what we're doing, but what I have noticed that whenever a host watch something dubbed over the subbed, I mean, with the 80s stuff, obviously the dub is terrible, but but in the case of Speed Racer, what made that episode special was I had never seen the subbed Speed Racer. I've only seen the dubbed, so when I rewatched it on Hulu, which is where it was at the time, it might still be there, who knows. For our American audience out there, yes, Hulu has a lot of anime. Including a lot of Funimation shows that are going around right now, so you don't have to spend extra money. The dubbed version of Speed Racer is what a lot of English speakers are more familiar with, right? And it's infamous for its dub, with its high-speed talking to go with the high-speed chases. Ha 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 ha. But Tori, when you watched the subbed, it really brought a new perspective to the show, and I really like that. I think it made it much more entertaining too.
I mean, sure, but it's still that, like, when you guys are trying to explain what's happening, and I'm just there now. Yeah, so we meet these characters, and they're named this, and I'm like, well, of course they have a different name in the dub. And I was like, and then this happened. I'm like, wasn't that episode 2? Like, no, it's like, oh, and then this happened, and then this happened. I'm like, I feel like you guys are like way ahead of me. Where are we? What's going on?
Yeah, what is her name? Like Trixie, and her name in Japanese is like Michiko.
Yep.
And
right.
like I just, dude, I think I drank a little bit that day, and I was like, oh, that's why she has an M in her T-shirt and not a T. Oh, that makes so much sense now. Oh, that guess is so dumb. If anyone goes down this list, they will realize most of these guests are just here because they have dumb, fun discussions we had.
We also did the
Idolmaster
Idolmaster cast that same episode, which was really...
Yes, it was just...
That was where
we didn't have a topic, and I just started talking about Idolmaster.
Finally, the democracy fucking hit. We said that we were going to talk about Idolmaster, and we did.
It happened.
we warned JD just like he warned us 10 minutes before the guest starts. The next one is also a very dumb show, but we have a dumb fun time discussing it, which is Dunbine.
Wow, one of our least downloaded episodes too.
Oh, that's a shame.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, I thought it would be in the top 1.
Guys, you should all go back and listen to that and watch. Actually, fuck the show. You should definitely listen to the podcast. It's a lot of fun. It's a silly as hell show. Dunbine is Dunbine is not what you would recommend anyone to watch unless you sit down, unless they have a particular interest in like isekai and they want to see like where it all began in anime at least. Maybe at that point,
I take that
sure,
back.
but
it is no longer one of our least downloaded shows.
Ooh.
Dun, dun, dun.
In March, it got a spike of like 3 times as many downloads. That was weird.
Nice.
At first, it was one of our least downloaded episodes.
I take the blame for that. That was me. No, I'm joking.
But yeah, that was featuring guest Brains from the Trash Pandas Watch Anime podcast, fellow anime radical. That was a super fun episode. We talked about isekai anime, what we think of it, and none of us like Dunbine.
Shocking.
Even though it's an infamous anime that people always reference as kind of the isekai starters, and from a historical perspective, it has its place in anime history for sure.
Yeah.
And that show was just so weird with its pacing, where it went. It's definitely an episode to go back and listen to for sure.
Yeah. Mom, Dad, it's me, I'm back. It's a fucking alien, kill it! Oh, God, that fucking show. Ugh, very fun. We need to do more infamous and dumb shows, like bad shows, really. We need to
I agree with that, Hickey. We do need to watch more just cringe stuff. That's why I think that's truly why shows like Two Heart and Saikano are among the top downloaded.
That's right. I agree.
Because I know what I'm talking about. First of all,
I agree with you guys. We definitely should do more Sailor Moon.
That's
Let the
also
hate
on the
mail
list. The Sailor Moon
resume.
cast. The highlight list has Sailor Moon. That cast got me known as the Mexican guy.
That is the cast. That is where the hate mail came from. That Mexican guy needs to like get off the cast or whatever it was.
Needs to shut up.
Even though Hickey, as we know, you're from Brazil, that doesn't speak Spanish.
Yes. Although I speak Spanish, I don't speak Spanish in the daily life. I just learn Spanish because every single country around me speaks Spanish, and they are far more cheaper, than my country, so I usually go there to buy stuff. Regardless. Yeah, but we need to do more bad shows. But the problem is we are dumb by nature. Not like dumb, we're not smart people. We're just dumb, so shows like Goku, the Midnight Eye, Space Cobra, things like that should be bad, we just have a blast and just have fun cast discussing it.
Those turn out to be the most fun episodes. I will bring up like the 80s OVAs that we have covered on the cast have been my favorite casts.
Because we need the cringe stuff. The stuff that we go on My Anime List and look at, it's like at 1. No one likes it.
I mean, we'll get to some of them. I think the what I always reference it, but our Satoshi Kon episode, I'm sure that's on your highlight list.
It is.
The fact that instead of covering something like Perfect Blue or some of Satoshi Kon's best works, instead we covered his origins, which was at Elderly Person Z, the super bed of death.
I mean, we did cover his other movies as well. But...
We did. We didn't like totally shit on his works. There was a heated argument in there for sure over some other things, but I really liked how we had to review Elderly Person's Edge, probably a work that no one's watched of Satoshi Kon. I think it gave him more credibility over what he's done, if anything.
Yeah, definitely. Next one, Excel Saga. Because Excel Saga is a very good... It's the anime. This one is not much the cast. It's more of an anime recommendation. Very good. Especially because of the 80s nods sometime it has. The big shoulder plates and the characters and things like that. Really, really, really fun anime to watch. Definitely a recommendation. The other one, Belladonna of Sadness. The failed hentai cast, because we spent 2 hours analyzing a weird fucking hentai.
That is so. I will just go over our most downloaded episodes, anime episodes of the Red Leaf Retrocast. Number 1 is Battle Angel Alita.
Oh my god.
where we covered the OVA and manga, and that has a lot to do with when the movie came out.
Yeah.
But we did this episode a year before the movie came out, and
Because
it
we
wasn't until
thought
the movie
the
came out
years-
that the downloads just
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't our fault, okay? We're like, well, the movie's coming out next week, so let's make a cast on it. The movie got delayed by a year, so
So that's and not only is that the most downloaded anime episode, that is the most downloaded Red Leaf Retrocast episode ever. That includes gaming, that includes wrestling. It's well over 3,000 downloads.
Damn.
Yeah. I couldn't be more excited for it. And we regretted, in hindsight, doing that episode because we did the manga, and that led to a lot of
some changes.
yeah,
Let's
that
put
led
it
to
in.
a lot of changes through the podcast. But in a lot of ways, it made the podcast better.
I mean,
after
I
that.
think
Yeah.
generally the biggest gripe I have with that podcast is just the fact that like we tried a new format that we'd never done before, which was we were essentially talking about like, you know, the manga and the OVA, as well as talking a little bit about our expectations for the movie and whatnot. So it's like it kind of at a certain point, I feel like the podcast kind of devolves into this like we're talking like we're mentioning like one thing from the OVA before we skip the one thing from the manga, and then like it does at a certain point it kind of becomes a little bit all over the place. Which in hindsight is like I feel like we could have done better with, but again
Sure.
it was the first time we've ever attempted this format. We haven't done it any other places either.
But as for a comparison, we got a lot of positive feedback on they loved the comparison between the two. But as for covering a manga at the same time, we definitely learned a lesson in that episode.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's why we now have a segment for it, and it's working fairly well.
You know, Hickey, I love the segment that we're doing with the checkout. It's
really
having
fun.
me
Just
discover
don't
a
give
lot
me
of.
something like unordinary because I devolve into fucking constitutional laws and shit.
No, I really like it. I think that's one of our
I
best
don't like
checkout
it.
discussion ever.
I'm already working. I don't need more law in my life. Don't put laws in my.
But we
head.
are switching back and forth. Tori, I hope you do join us in one of these someday.
I hope so, but again, exams and shit like that. But
Yeah, when you're all past that.
I do want to join. I do want to join it in something.
Our second most downloaded episode of the Anime Cast to this day is still the Mobile Suit Gundam movie trilogy.
See, like I feel like when it comes to the things that people like watching or the things that people want to listen to us from, that's like the things that I have problems with. And this cast, I don't necessarily have a problem with the cast itself. What I have a problem with is the fact that I had never seen the original Gundam, and JD and Joe, former host, convinced me that it was absolutely fine to just watch the recap movies. You'll get the gist of it. And I get the gist of it, but I feel like it is, in its shortened format,
Yeah.
it is very, very underwhelming.
Well, and that was kind of a universal thought about it, which led to us at the end recommending if you have the time and want to watch the show, right? So that remains one of our most popular episodes. It's number 2, and it's very well received. It gets consistent downloads every month. It's pretty crazy. And then number 3, which Hickey, you and I, this is one of our shortest anime reviews we've ever done. Every anime review we've ever done always goes at least an hour, seemingly, right?
Yeah.
And this is the only show Tori has ever dropped on the podcast. He's not watched the entire show, and that's Initial D.
Yeah.
That was a fail. That was a hard fail. It is weird to say it on the list. It is that one piece. I'm not an artist. We're not artists, but bear with me. It's that one piece an artist dislikes, and everyone likes it.
No, you're right. You're right. I'm in total agreement.
Yeah, we look at it, and from time to time we discuss what not to do, and things like that. And the initial Daycast is like the initial Daycast and the Battle Angel Alita manga thing are the things that we always keep in mind while recording or planning new things. We sometimes try new formats or new segments. They are always there. Like, let's not do like this.
Let's not do this again, yet the downloads and feedback
the downloads is like,
tells us different. It's so bizarre.
Yeah, I mean, I get why it's popular. Initial D does still have kind of, a bit of a cult following. It's really popular amongst the people who like it. Now, obviously, I'm not into racing anime or racing in general. I'm not even into cars. So I wasn't expecting to like it. My like of Initial D was mostly hinged on, what happens outside of the races.
Sure.
Which, Initial D is absolutely nothing. So that's great. But yeah, no.
Well, luckily enough, the 2 seasons after that is OVAs.
Yes.
Very short.
But what I did was I ended up dropping it at like the halfway point. And I didn't say anything because I didn't want to like stifle the conversation. So I didn't tell anybody that I had dropped it. And on the podcast, it eventually came to that point where I couldn't really say anymore. To which I just said that I dropped it at this point, where I feel like we don't really talk about half the show at that point. And then it kind of just cut off. We were like, okay, I guess we're done here then. Which was kind of what I had hoped, which was why I hadn't said anything, because I kind of had hoped to avoid that. But it still ended up happening, which I do take responsibility. I should have said something.
It doesn't really matter, because if the downloads are going well, people actually agree with us that part 1 and part 2, nothing happens at all. That's the conclusion of that cast. If it's going well and we have good feedback on it, means people are like, oh yeah, nothing happens at part 1 and part 2. We can just watch half of part 1, 2 or 3 episodes of part 2, and then go to part 3 when Takumi starts liking cars more and he starts studying cars. That's basically it. Good cast. Fuck off.
And then number 4 is our very first episode, Ashita no Joe. Ashita no Joe, as people constantly point to. I mean, that's been one of the most top downloaded episodes since day one. I think that makes us all happy when we have an audience that wants to go back and listen to the first one consistently. Mm-hmm. That's very nice. I think we did a good job in that first episode. Personally.
Cringe.
I mean, a little bit awkward, obviously, after this one.
Using my name makes me cringe so hard.
Yeah, like it's a little bit awkward because again, it is the first podcast we ever did. When you do one podcast, it does become kind of like, or when you do your first podcast, right? Not for JD, but for me and Hickey and a lot of us, right? So it does become a little bit like you're not sure when to speak, you're not sure what to say. A little bit, it becomes a little bit.
Definitely.
It's a little bit awkward, but
we try using webcams. Everything.
Yeah.
We've tried a number of things on this cast, but I'm very, usually people, I've gone back and listened to the first episode a couple times, and whether it's audio quality or how we're interacting with each other, you guys' first podcast experience, we of course we had room for improvement. It'd be weird if we didn't, right?
Yeah.
But just from how we gelled together and audience reception and the fact that it's still one of our top downloaded episodes of all time, I have no regrets for it. I really liked it. I think we did the show credit too.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like the first episodes are fun because it's just us being dumb. It's not we are hosts and we have segments and things. No, if we were just in a fucking voice chat in Discord talking for 8 hours a day, and we're like, well, some shit happens and you guys want to talk about that and record, sure, let's make a little bit short. Yeah, 5 hours is fine. So it's very organic. The beginning is very organic. I would love to go back, and sometimes we strike that, like the Yamato cast or Ain of Green Gables. Those are the more specific because we're going to talk about them in detail later. But sometimes, just like we're doing right here, right now, we're just talking. We're just having a good time. We forget about the podcast logic and devolve into just a good pause, having a talk.
Yeah.
And that's great in the beginning.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we've known each other for a while. We're friends. We talk to each other all the time anyways. We're recording ourselves now. That's really the only difference.
Now we have proofs against us that will sustain it in a court
And of course, where would we be without number 5? And then once you start going out of the top 5, there's a big drop. Belladonna of Sadness, the hentai episode, is easily number 5.
The failed hentai episode.
Well, our topic was all about hentai, what we like, our secret desires, and then seemingly breaking down how the Black Plague pertains to fucking devil penis.
Yeah, how the Black Plague beginning friends leading to penises and then John Doe.
Tips to any up-and-coming anime podcasts. If you're going to do a hentai cast, don't do an art house film for your first hentai cast.
From the 70s, nonetheless.
Or actually do. It's popular.
Also, the last one in my I'll highlight, and then we can go to our favorites, is Serial Experiments Lane. For 2 reasons. The first one, it has a very nice discussion there. Joe is also there.
I do
very
like it,
nice
yeah.
discussion. And it is one of the most sad episodes because at that time I didn't have a lot of time in Sunday and I was recording inside of a car. That episode,
I remember that time.
That episode went for so long. It is so long. I actually almost died of carbon dioxide intoxication. By the end of the cast, I started to feel very lethargic. My movements were slow, and I was like, I am fucking dying. I need to open the window right now. It was one of the worst sensations of my life. And I've been ran over by cars before. Let me tell you that. Oh my god, that cast, recording inside of a car is just do that as the last resort. Please, don't kill yourself. It is a very dumb way to die.
As you can tell, we have fun here.
I think it's also the cast I break down a bunch of suicide, ways of committing suicide. I said like 50. Yeah. Nice cast. All right, our favorite ones. Quick. JD, first one.
Oh, so my favorite ones usually involve not only some of my favorite shows that I've watched, but also it led to very good discussion on the cast. And the 3 that come to mind is Anne of Green Gables. That was kind of a revelation episode because there hasn't been a lot of anime that's been recommended to me, right? That I've come out and full on not only agreed with the recommendation, but have gone, this is fucking fantastic, right? And the discussion that it led to made for such a good episode in why the recommendation was so valid. And I've given you full on so much credit for it, Tori. And that's Anne of Green Gables. And the fact that I had also lived in Canada and understood a lot of the culture. It has a lot of history. It's based on history as well. Anne of Green Gables remains, to me, one of those anime that I highly, highly recommend. I love the episode. I loved the topic discussion as well, where it was Masterpiece Theater. That to me is our best episode.
Definitely.
From my perspective.
We all agree on that. That episode, it sets the gold standard.
Yeah. I think it's the highest rated show as well over the entire cast, combined. It's something, I wanted these guys to watch it because I loved it. I'm still surprised because, out of everyone, I expected good things, but I was expecting, JD, I know he's a super into slice of life all the time, so I was expecting him to come back and be like, yeah, sure, a 7. So when he came back with a 10, I was a little bit shocked because I'm like, you're trying to tell me you enjoyed this more than I did?
Yeah?
Bitch, I'm giving a 10 as well.
And Hickey doesn't give 10s easily, that kind of deal.
No, I don't give. I give it a 9, which is the best score I can give.
Yeah.
With high praises. With high praises.
My second favorite episode was definitely Legend of Galactic Heroes, where we covered season 1 with Andrew from Recovery of an Anime Junkie podcast. He's also part of the Anime Radicals network that we're a part of. That was just a great discussion over the show. Legend of Galactic Heroes is regarded as one of the best anime of all time. I think we did the show. I think in my opinion, this show we did the most justice discussing as a group for what was covered, how the show is, why people should watch it, and on that particular episode, that particular day, Andrew was, in my opinion, the best guest host we've had to date on that episode. He's also been on Whistle and hope to have him on future episodes, but I think in that episode we nailed the host nailed interacting with us, and the series we did the most justice. That's why I like that episode the most, and we are further covering the episode, so perhaps we can have him back for season 2. And then number 3 is Yamato, Space Battleship Yamato, and 2 out of 3 of these shows were actually from the 70s. What Yamato did for us as a podcast, the show was great, but why I picked this episode out in particular and the show is I think this gave us a format to improve upon. How we covered Yamato and what we did and how we discussed was our standard going forward, because we were all kind of in agreement we should make our episodes like how we covered this. And from there, not only did we see a download increase, we saw a fan base increase, we saw more interaction. Everything's improved since then, and I'm very proud of that episode and how we've based everything from then. And those are my 3 favorite that we've covered on the cast to date.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. I really like good anime, but usually I prefer the dumb discussions, like the comments, the small talk we can devolve into in this podcast. That's why the first one I put as one of my favorite shows and casts we did so far is Go-Go 13. We did we did many like
pretty
cool
recent
guys. Yeah, pretty recent, I know, but like we did a lot of ripped guys being motherfucking awesome. mainly everything in the 80s basically. But Go-Go 13 episode was just like the punchlines we did, the comedy we put on it. It was just very, very, very fun. And the other one,
I'll
in
pop
the
some more
same
scotch to that.
in the same line.
That's 3 if you're keeping count.
Yeah, someone who have a nice Sunday. In the same sense, a show I really liked and I really like to talk about in the cast was Aim for the Ace.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Another 70s show.
Yeah, because like all the anime is great, but it has a few problems.
Sure.
Especially because for a tennis show, everyone is focusing too much in body shots. But still, we're talking about how this created a new line of sport and shoujo manga and anime, and how it was received at a time, how important it is to the history of the media we all know and love. So yeah, that was probably one of the best casts we were all in agreement over something, in my opinion. Of course, life is not all about agreement, but also disagreement most of the times. That's why my third show is about a show I didn't like that much. That was Nadia, the Secret of Blue Water.
Oh,
Because in my
that
opinion,
episode, yeah.
in that cast, me and Tori disagreed. Like,
Yes.
we disagreed a lot.
Hmm.
I still think Nadia is the 90s version of Darling the Franks,
Ooh.
but regardless, that show, it's like, we don't disagree that much. It's kind of, usually it's very punctual when we disagree. And usually, like, we talk a little bit and we can come to a middle ground, right? It's like, oh, like, I like this or this like that. We talk to each other. We've been friends for a long time, so we can find a middle ground. In Nadia, that didn't happen. We were adamant in what we were talking about that show, and that's very rare. That is a very rare occasion in this cast. That's why I think, like JD said, like JD with his show said, they set the standards to me or to all of us in cast quality. I think Nadia is definitely, Nadia and Treasure Island, they set the bars to a healthy discussion where we don't need to find a middle ground. You need to understand that sometimes you have a discussion and you don't find a middle ground, but still be very civil about it. And Nadia of Blue Water is definitely that episode.
Yeah, definitely. You're still wrong, by the way, but yeah.
Gotta throw that in there.
Alright. Yeah, that's right. Oh well, when I gave one fucking absolutely fire recommendation, I have to give one that doesn't work for everyone. I guess we gotta keep the perfect balance.
Sure.
But yeah, no, my favorite, I don't really have that many. I only have two. Not because I dislike every other cast. I'm not that cynical, but I just don't tend to keep that many favorites. But the first favorite of mine is just like JD. It's the Anne of Green Gables cast because
Hell
I
yeah.
mean it's my favorite show we've covered in this show on this podcast since the beginning. Closely followed up by like Ashton Joe, but I just love Anne of Green Gables. And just like JD says, well, the discussion around it, everything, it was just a nice
Healthy.
cast to have.
Healthy, wholesome. It was wholesome.
Like just a
Very
pure discussion
wholesome.
of the show and what happened. It just doesn't always happen like that. We tend to make jokes. I tend to make jokes. I love to make shitty jokes.
No,
And
that is, like the only other time that happened was with Belladonna's Sadness, and that's very fucking weird.
the only time that happens is on the cast where that's not supposed to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Anne of Green Gables, absolutely amazing. And by all means, go and download and listen to that fucking podcast. It needs to be more popular than it is. It's a great cast. I love it. And the other one,
I wonder what the standing is on that in downloads, because it wasn't. I people weren't interested because of the name. I feel
that's very possible.
Yeah,
Which is a shame.
Let me double check that stat.
You should have fucking. You should have just gone in the title and just plastered names like fucking Hayao Miyazaki and Tomino and
Yeah, Cowboy Bebop.
Cowboy Bebop. Yeah, that always gets the views.
Oh, I cried so hard in Anne of Green Gables. Holy shit. Oh, that show.
It's something
Can
else.
move on, or start
All
just
right,
remember that
okay.
cast.
Yeah, the other my other favorite cast is actually the Space Cobra cast that we did. Because again,
with Brains from Trash Pandas Watch Anime,
yes,
fellow
exactly.
anime radical.
Exactly. Because that
Go check out Anime Radicals at iTunes. Fantastic conglomeration anime podcast that everyone should listen to.
That's right. But
That's
yeah, no,
right, Donald Trump.
what I love about this podcast is just that, like, everything I said about Anne of Green Gables is the exact opposite here. This is a cast full of jokes, full of just fun, laughs. We watched a silly show that people that we enjoyed a lot for. I wouldn't say all the wrong reasons, but it's not wrong. It's good.
You don't like scantily
It's just-
clad space women?
No, I actually do. I like it a lot, and I like ripped men with fucking psycho guns implanted in his arm, and it's so silly, and the entire podcast just follows that standard. And I just had a lot of fun. Like, I don't think I've laughed more on any podcast in my entire podcasting career than I did on that cast. It was great. It's a great time. So yeah, those are the two ones that I like to highlight.
What are some... So we have our podcast tentative plans till episode 75. Okay?
Technically, yeah.
Technically.
Well,
We have our hentai episode next. We have Touch after that, which I'm very excited for. We have a slew of guest hosts happening that they all want to be on. We're revisiting Legend of the Galactic Heroes, second arc. What are some shows that you'd feel that we must do in the future? Tori.
Bebop High School.
Oh, well, that is happening, Hickey, but eventually.
Are you sure? Are you sure about that?
Oh,
I'm not sure anymore. Just saying.
we will do it before episode 100. I promise, Icky. Oh, gee, I don't. Show I want us to talk about that we haven't already talked about. I feel like I don't want to give out too much, but I feel like we have a lot of the shows that I really love to talk about. We either have talked about or it's already planned to come up. So yeah, I don't really have anything on. Yeah, oh, right, of course. This has already also been recommended to us, by the way, but I definitely do want to get into Night on the Galactic Railroad, the anime for that, mostly because as of recently, or with my movie quest, I've stumbled upon the author of that works like ingrained in other works, or even in works about himself, and
Sure.
a few times now. So I feel like I kind of need to watch that at this point. So yeah, that's definitely one that I can just think of off the top of my head that I like.
Hickey.
Well, I don't have one specific in my head, but I already said it. We need to do more cringe bad shows. Not because like, oh, I want you shit on bad shows. It's nothing like that. It's most of our shows and most of the discussions we have and conclusions we draw is like those shows they have bad quality most of the time. The shows we watched, come on, they are 40 years old. Some of the shows we covered are like 50 years old.
Yeah, a couple, yeah.
There are a few OVAs, they are almost 100 years old. We covered in this. No, I mean, I'm not joking. Right at the beginning, we did one with like short OVAs, and they were like very, very old from the 1920s, 1930s, so short shows there. But in the sense is, look, those shows are showing us that there's some stuff that work, and newer shows, they don't tend to do that anymore. And, that's probably wrong. Let's revisit the past. Maybe just because something is old doesn't mean it's automatically bad. But I believe the same way good things set good examples, bad things set good examples of what you shouldn't do. And thus, instead of just watching a bad show and cheating on it, like a lot of people do with Shitty Watch, I love to watch those cringy and bad shows and analyze it. Give it the proper analysis it deserves, right? Even if it's crap, someone spent a lot of time in that. And I think at least at one podcast or one video or one whatever, it needs a proper review and a proper analysis. Just a justice thing. And the only one I actually want to reveal, I imposed to us, it's the episode 100 anime, but that will take a while. Let's just make a little, let's make just a little bit of a suspense here of which anime is that. Well, technically it's not even an anime. It's something in the middle. But it will take more 2 years until we get there, so yeah.
I've had some shows listed on the backlog of the cast just from personal recommendations of a lot for discussion. I got 3,000 Leagues in Search of Mother, Rose of Versailles.
Yeah.
Those are a couple 70s shows.
Oh, I remember one I would like to do. Sorry. Glass Mask.
Glass Mask?
Glass Mask. It's a very old shoujo.
Oh.
Very old shoujo.
I think I've heard of that one, actually. Yeah.
It's like a 70s shoujo. It's very shoujo. Holy shit.
I would love to do a Dr. Slump movie cast because the show has been kind of lost to history, unfortunately. There's only about, I think, 18 episodes and then scattered episodes from there. So a movie history over Toriyama's one of his first manga that hit off. I'd love to do a Dr. Slump movie cast at some point. Obviously, it's very far away, but that would be a wish. A personal guide would be Megazone 23. It's a 4-part OVA series. It's one that I have very conflicting feelings toward, for it being one of the best things ever and then one of the worst things or / disappointments in anime. That really sticks out in my mind. So those are a couple 80s shows, and then through the 90s, I think a goofy little trip down memory lane would be Bastard, which is an OVA show. Yeah, that's ridiculous. And then Slam Dunk. I know it's over 100 episodes, but it could be something along the line of Touch, where we watch a single arc and then go through it. Because I've never seen Slam Dunk. It's regarded as one of the best sports anime of all time. It definitely set a precedent in anime history. I would like to do that. So those are a couple 90s ones.
Yeah, I mean, like, we'll probably discuss that further. Like, the problem we have, obviously, is when you have to, when we talk about, like, a long show, is how do you do it? Do you talk about the entire thing? Do you divide it up? How do you divide it up? We've done both. We've both, like, with the Legend of Galactic Heroes cast, for example, we covered the first 26 episodes.
Right.
And stuff like that, right? And we've done that before. But we've also covered, like, we covered Dunbine, of all things, in its entirety.
Yeah, that was 50 plus.
Yeah, right, but so we can do both, but it's like, at that point, it's one of those things, like, those things have to be planned a long time in advance, and we have to have time to watch it, because, there's a lot of episodes to get through, and it's kind of hard as well, because sometimes life gets in the way, and then you end up not being able to watch a couple episodes for a while, and then you're behind, and...
Well, I think the hardest thing for an anime fan is, let's say you get into the show, right? Like, Legend of the Galactic Heroes. We all enjoyed it, and we want to watch more of it, so it sucks
watch everything.
Well, you want to watch the whole thing, but it sucks that from a time frame perspective, you can only cover so much. So that leads to a second episode. But I don't know. I like our current format where, let's say we watch Gatchaman or Speed Racer. We're not going to watch 100 episodes of Gatchaman.
You don't say.
Yeah, right. Because we get the point after 13. But then you get a good show every once in a while that's more than the 50 plus, right? Or even the 20 plus. And that's where we kind of have to start deciding how much are we going to cover and if we want to revisit it. So if there's a show that you guys in the audience want to recommend, such as a Dragon Ball or a Pokemon, odds are we're not going to cover a 100+ episode show in one sitting, right? We're going to have to break it down. Unless it's...
I mean...
I need you 8.
Yeah, no, that's true. Like,
for 8, I need money, and I need to work, and things like that.
Yeah. For something, it's kind of easy, right? I mean, I assume most of us here have seen Pokemon. If not everything you've seen.
Absolutely, Tori!
Yeah, right? So, it's like, for that one, it's kind of easy. But then you have, and I'm not going to say you guys, but definitely myself, right? You come to Dragon Ball,
I've seen the whole thing.
Yeah, I've actually never seen Dragon Ball before. But I'm not going to watch the entire thing. I've actually had no desire to watch Dragon Ball at all. I'm going to do it for, when it becomes recommended, if we decide to do it on cast, I'm going to do it. But it's like, it's not something that I'm like, oh yeah, Dragon Ball. Finally, a piece of it. I know what it is. I've not seen episodes, but I've seen parts, but I heard people talk about it. I know what happens to a certain extent, not in any chronological order, any story significance or anything, but I know what they do. It's like, it's one of those things, like, it's weird, right? How do you cover that? It's obviously not a show aimed at me in any way.
Sure. All right. Well, I think that ends our celebration topic.
Happy birthday to the Anime Cast.
Hooray!
The now to be prohibited word cast.
All right, I got a new drop for the cast. Very excited about this one, and it also pertains to our anime for review. Here we go.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam.
Ah, beautiful. I fucking love that drop. It's one of my favorites now.
You know, JD, let me ask you something.
All right.
Now that we're talking about anniversary and you're drinking a lot,
Ooh.
which one was the first guest you decided to use the drops?
Oh.
You remember that?
I don't.
Yeah. Me neither, but I remember you pissing us off sending those kind of things, or like late night, like, look at this, and you just listen to it drops like, what is that? I'm gonna put that in the podcast. And out of fucking nowhere. Good times.
Yeah.
Simple times. It was like a year and a half ago.
It was early enough, but late enough where it was like, why?
Yeah. When you get new equipment and shit like that.
You want to try new things. So anyways, we're talking Cowboy Bebop. This is pretty steeped in history here with anime fans, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
I mean, very, very mainstream.
It's very mainstream, especially outside of Japan.
I mean, yeah, like, it's one of those, we joke about it, put Cowboy Bebop in title and you'll get views, like, it's kind of true. It does happen. A lot of people have a history with this show, myself included. It's my first ever anime. If it wasn't for this anime, I would probably never have gone into anime, because I sure know that shit like Naruto and whatnot didn't do it. So, yeah, no, it's a special show for a lot of people, myself included.
Hickey, what's your history?
Yeah. I don't know. Someone said, look, if you want to be an anime fan, you need to watch Cowboy Bebop, Bible Black, and Boku no Pico. And
Don't
forget his success.
Because look, the point is, if you want to watch the good stuff, you also need to know there's another side of the really, really, really bad stuff that is actually legal in my country.
Oh, I'll drink to that, Hickey. Oh my god.
But regardless, yes, a drawn porn of little kids is a crime in Brazil. Still, no one gives a shit, but it's technically a crime. And I was like, oh, right, we're gonna watch it. Bible Black is fucking weird, but let's save that for another hentai cast.
All right.
Yeah,
I'd be
and
down for
I
Bible
watched it.
Black in the future.
And I watched it, and like I was very young. You shouldn't be watching those two other shows in my age at the time. But I watched Cowboy Bebop, and definitely what stuck with me was the music, Jim. And I started listening to a lot of blues and jazz. Also, there's 3 little old guys that they always appear. They are together. One is kind of mentally ill and he doesn't remember anything. The other one is always complaining that I built this city or I built the portal 50 years ago, right? those three guys, their names are actually the name of a famous Brazilian singer, a bossa nova singer, and I started listening to that as well. So definitely the type of music I listen nowadays is probably due to watching Cowboy Bebop.
All right. My history probably has, it's probably similar with a lot more people. With, it was on Toonami and Adult Swim, whichever the one. And I was enamored with the show's maturity and stylization. It's style. It has style. So it's by Studio Sunrise. Director and storyboard by Shinichiro Watanabe. He's also done Macross Plus, Samurai Champloo, and the current Carolyn Tuesday that's airing.
Unless you're watching it on Netflix.
Oh, yeah, if you're watching it on Netflix. Music by Yoko Kanno, who's done Escaflowne, and all the Macross, but not the original. Memories, etc., etc. She's one of the most famous music artists of the anime industry, for sure. Disagree, guys?
Yeah.
No. I mean, like, it's like, what? For a long period of time when you were talking anime, like, composers, it was Yoko Kanno and Yuki Kajira, who, by the way, are weirdly similar to each other.
And Hirayano as well.
Yeah, he came a little bit later. I mean,
A little bit later, but you know,
There
there's not a lot of we can talk about that in
No, I
another
know.
day. There's not a lot of renovation in the industry. So saying someone is famous, it's kind of an underplay. Just that there's no other people to do the job.
I suppose.
No, but I mean, like, again, it's one of those, like, when I say, like, Yoko Kanno and Yuki Kajira, they were, like, the two that were always brought up in the anime community, especially the Western anime community online, at least when I got into anime. That was the case.
Yeah.
They're obviously not the only famous composers. You obviously have, like, Kawai, right? Like, he's Ghost in the Shell guy. He's pretty famous. You have, like, I forget his name. The guy who does Loop on soundtrack.
Yeah, I understand your point. So,
Yeah, right. But it's like, these guys were like, when you, especially around my time, 2013-ish, 2014, when you got into anime, it's like, if you didn't know who these people were, then you weren't really watching anime.
So this was released in April 1998. Interesting note, I'll just say this right away. Due to the violence portrayed in the series and the violence occurring in the time in Japan, the series was briefly canceled. So a lot of these late 90s shows that were popular in the West, but not popular in Japan, Cowboy Bebop, probably the most famous now, Trigun, to name a couple, that's what mostly led to their unpopularity in Japan. And yet they're very popular in the West. So that's a little tidbit of information I found out.
Yeah.
I didn't know that prior.
No, me neither. Me and Hickey, before the cast, we actually started looking up that because we were interested to see what actually happened. And apart from the most major thing that happened from in 98 was that there was a curry poisoning that killed 4 people and left like 68 injured. And other than that, there was a few instances of some rise in teenage violence. But there weren't really. Couldn't really find anything like major.
Yeah, but
I thought that was a bit
if you
weird.
look at Japan's culture in violence, like any sort of rise,
No, I know.
they don't want to exacerbate it.
I know,
Yeah,
but it
no,
is kind of
definitely.
weird when
Like-
you look at the other years, like what happened the years before and in the years after. There's much more heinous shit that happens. It's like I wonder why exactly this year. But okay,
Yeah,
Maybe
it
because
is very
this was
when,
on
when it comes
TV.
to
probably I don't know.
Yeah.
when it comes to violence in Japan and pop culture and things like that. Usually, you talk a lot of 85 to 95. 85, you have the Otaku Killer, Miyazaki, and 95, you have the sarin gas attack in the Tokyo subway stations.
Sure.
During that time, you had a lot of weird cult making mass suicides, and hopefully to be mass suicides, let's put it like that. and you also had a lot of psychopaths. That time period is also where you have the portrayed of the dangerous otaku that we got in the West until
Oh yeah, the
2010s.
otaku killer and all that.
The
stuff.
otaku killer is one of them. One of the most serious cases, let's put it like that, it was of a middle schooler that killed a kindergarten, beheaded him, and put his head in front of the school gate. That shit happened in like 89.
It's hardcore.
Like those kind of things, they were happening in Japan. Like not only you had that, but you also start to see the abandoned cities in the countryside, and then they are shady places, and probably some people got arrested by doing bad things in those places. Let's say that. So yeah, but after 95, those cases they go down a lot. The yakuza start to disappear, or they start to go down into the underworld again. The psychopaths, they kind of tone down. The cults tone down. So it is very weird. Maybe because they already saw what unspeakable violence
Sure.
in before, when they see those cases happening again with the teenagers going around and stabbing people for no reason at all, they think, oh, that cliche as well. Oh, it's the violence in the video games and television. They're trying to replicate that, and then you just cut it off. It happened recently with
defense, right?
Classroom, Assassin Classroom. It happened very recently with that.
Really?
But it happened to. It had to do with ISIS. ISIS was beheading people,
okay.
and the kid was threatening the octopus with a knife, and Japan said, "Look, this cannot go on television.
Okay.
Not at least not in this week." So they delayed the episode a week. So it happens. In the 90s, it was more prominent because of the prior history, recent history.
Sure. Okay, I got you. Okay, so Cowboy Bebop. Summary from Anime Planet. Follow interstellar bounty hunters Spike Spiegel and Jet Black as they scour the galaxy for criminals with prices on their heads. So they're bounty hunters. Hoping to escape their past, they live on the spaceship Bebop. But it's a dangerous business, and old enemies don't forget easily. Allies come from unlikely sources. However, as they find comrades in beautiful swindler Faye Valentine, the genius child hacker Ed, and the genetically engineered data dog Ein, will they be able to help each other through their respective struggles, or is their fate really inevitable? There you go.
Ein is the most important character in this show. Don't even at me.
Ein is
Ein.
the best character in the show. The little corgi dog. Really. Oh,
There's your German influence through Cowboy Bebop. A lot of it there.
Ein.
A lot of German influence into Cowboy Bebop.
Not only German, like if you see the cities they go by, it's a mix of Europe with Middle East and metropolis, like big metropolis.
Yeah, there's a lot of European influence, whether it be French, German,
A lot
or
of Chinese as
a
well.
lot of Chinese. Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Old Chinese, like 80s China.
Shinichiro Watanabe has always been very, very big fan of Western stuff. So I feel like that often shines through in his shows, especially Carol and Tuesday this season. But yeah, there is definitely a lot of that. I mean, but generally, there's just a fuck ton of references in general. Their ship is called the Bebop, which is a reference to a old and died out genre of jazz music, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
So I don't know about you guys, but obviously I've seen this prior to the cast. I've seen this a number of times to the cast. Just for my account, I can easily say, watch it for this cast. This is my 6th time watching the series in full. That's not including, like, the occasional episode here or there on Toonami or on TV. In general, like, I have seen this show at least 6 times through and through. What about you guys?
I mean, I guess Tori only watched it once, but I won't, or like twice now, because it was his first anime. It was really close, right? Like
Right.
2013.
Yeah,
Right,
I
Tori?
mean, yes, I have only seen it once actually. Because of the exams and because I had to make a decision,
Oh,
I didn't end up rewatching it for
that is true.
the podcast.
That is
Alright,
true.
so you're going off memory for this one.
Yes, I've got some helping hands.
Fair
here and
enough.
there, but
No,
yeah.
no, that's fine. That's fine.
Gotta let the nostalgia speak.
Well, nostalgia from...
I watched it 4 times. That's my 4th time.
This is your 4th
The
time.
first
Okay,
one,
I was
the
curious.
first one, the first one I was very young. The second time I was like, all right, I was very young when I watched it. I probably missed a lot of things, and I remember like watching the first time. I was like, nah, doesn't make sense. Why would you pursue what he pursued, or most of the characters pursue? For me, it didn't make a lot of sense. I can say right now, most of the characters, they except Faye and Edward, more Jet Black and Spike, they are in a spiral of violence. And I'm like, just try to get out.
Just
Jet
don't
does
do it.
Yeah, Jet can do it. Spike doesn't do it. I was like, that's dumb. That's dumb.
You think it's
go
dumb?
back to my cartoon. Dude, I was like 10. Come on.
Well,
Yeah.
I was young too, and the way the characters
But,
were
like,
presented...
I was very young. I think when I started watching older anime, right at the beginning, I was like 4 or 5 years old. Of course, it wasn't the age I watched Bible Black. Okay, I just feel like that. So, but it was like 10, 11. I watched it. So for me, like, it doesn't. It's kind of dumb, especially probably also because of my background. Violence for me is very present every day. Unfortunately, even when I was young, for me it's like, well, if you don't want to get shot, just don't go around into places where they will shoot you. You know, for me that is survival, basically.
Well,
But when I get older,
in
it's like,
some ways,
well,
I'm very familiar with that notion, Hickey. I
Yeah,
grew up
it's
in
like,
Houston.
look,
it was like, hey,
if you're
if you don't want your fucking car stolen, you don't park on this street, right? You know its reputation. Just don't do that. Go 3 blocks left.
Yeah, I mean, my case is like, look, cousin, not my cousin, but let's just use, look, cousin, you know everyone in that neighborhood wants to kill you. Don't go there. Don't go near there. Go there. Get killed. You know, it's like, for me, it's a lot. It's a more how can it's not more violent, because I don't think you can quantify violence. For me, there's no quantifying violence. But regardless, I guess you understand my point. For me, it's like, well, if you don't want to get killed, don't get killed. Very
However-
young. It's a very young age.
However,
right?
I will say this. Where I related to, let's say, Spike's struggle with accepting fate and just going headstrong into certain situations that you would think you would just be simply be able to walk away from. There were a number of times in my childhood where I knew that certain guys would come around. I would eventually meet them at some point down the line, and a fight was going to break out. And it was going to be 2-3-on-1, or whatever the circumstance, right? And it was either my choice whether it was going to be on their time or my time. And yeah, I had friends going, dude, just don't do it. And I'd tell them to their face, look, it's either I do it now, or I do it 2-3 weeks from now, or 4 months from now. Either way, it's happening. I have to accept that this is going to happen. And, you know, consequences precede themselves accordingly. And I related to that a lot with how Cowboy Bebop presented similar fight situations, where it was these characters accepting their past, going into the present. It's very interesting.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's not accepting the past and going to the present. It's more about the turmoil, violence. But yeah, I watched it again. Like years later, a lot of shows I watched it when I was very young, or before hitting. You guys would call it middle school, I guess, or secondary school. Like, all right, I need to rewatch a lot of things because a lot of the points I didn't get. And I start to understand more of the characters and the background. Then I watch it again right before high school. I had a really bad time right before high school. That's why my name comes from Hikikomori. I won't talk about that. And I rewatch a lot of things. Also, I watched other anime. I was like, and that time I came to the conclusion you came right now, right? It will happen. At some point.
At some point. Just to tell a quick story here. This was the same time I was watching Cowboy Bebop. It was a childhood story. I was in junior high.
In 1990,
whatever.
In 1900s, and I got the copy. I know it wasn't out yet, but I met a weird. No,
this was probably in 2000,
and he gave me.
No, I definitely pinpoint this around 2001. I was in junior high, and I had taken the spot from a starting player on the basketball team. Okay? And I was told to my face in the locker room, we're meeting after school. Period. Because he knew I rode the bus or the bike. And he said he'd have friends at the bike stand, where my bike would so happen to be, or the bus station, where in American schools, usually the buses would be outside the school grounds. So, unless I would choose to, skip out on it, 2 out of 3 of those choices were I'm going to be held and into a fight, right? So, as opposed to me starting my school day the next day or whenever in the future, getting the shit kicked out of me, I presented it right away. I just went, okay, let's do this now. I tried to find my friends to join me, but they were fellow nerds, as you might say. I had one friend who was on the wrestling team, so he joined me and had my back. It was really nice. We're still friends to this day, for good reason. So me being the hardcore wrestling fan that I was, did a couple moves, and I threw this guy's head down into the ground. One of my proudest moments. I got to do an actual wrestling move in real life. The problem with that is when you do real things, when you do these things in real life, they tend to hurt people quite a lot. This proceeded to get 6 guys on the 2 of us at once. It led to a big after-school incident. And we were interviewed and all that afterwards, and they proceeded to pertain all this violence to video games and TV, which now in hindsight, when reading about Cowboy Bebop and how this all came to be, it all correlates, I
mean, you're telling me that Cowboy Bebop made you a violent kid? No,
well, I mean, that's what I was watching at the time.
I understand. You watch this I guess it might happen one day. It's better not to postpone. Better go and understand that sometimes you get the short stick. And
exactly.
Listen.
Yeah, no.
I just want to say
it's closer to Welcome to NHK more than it is to Cowboy Bebop. That's why.
Yeah. Now I just want to say, okay, JD, it sounds to me like wrestling was a worse influence on you than anime video game. They got the wrong guy.
Look, wrestling in the late 90s and early 2000s was hot shit, let me tell you.
Yeah, no, I don't have any stories like that, sadly. Cowboy Bebop
I
to
do
me
have.
is mostly just a story that I watched, an interesting one, because, like, at its core, at its base, it's really, really simple. You can watch it just simply as an action movie, which is why I think it has such a mass appeal. It's got a lot of action. It's a little bit deeper at times, but like it has a base level of enjoyment that I think a lot of people can grab hold to, while at the same time being more suited for also an older audience in the sense that there's more philosophizing characters. Right, one of the biggest things I see that people complain about Cowboy Bebop is the lack of character development. But in reality,
I actually disagree with that.
yeah, because the characters in Cowboy Bebop, what is with them is it's not what they turn into in the future. It's who they were. Why they are where they're now. Right? And that's the big thing about Cowboy Bebop, because the entire thing for everyone in the cast, they have a past that is eventually going to catch up to them. And it's going to catch up to them no matter what they do. They're eventually going to have to face what happened in their past at some point.
A lot of people, they mistake character development to character progression.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And it's not
Good point.
just not true. You can have a regression and be a character development. The Joker in the Batman is like that. To our standards, he didn't progress. He regressed. He went nuts, and you're like, oh, but people still call that a progression. Still, you don't even need a progression or a regression to have a character development.
Mm-hmm.
Just revelations about who the character are at that moment. Like, you don't need much. Spike is just this laid-back guy and whatever. The first thing you learn about him through the environment is that he is supposed to be dead. This is a character development.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't progress. You didn't regress.
The other thing about Spike is that you learn is through probably the show's best episodes, where it's focused on him. That's Jupiter Jazz and The Real Folk Blues. The only two-part episodes in the entire series. And that confronts his past with the female character Julia, and how it leads to Vicious, his antagonist, to his own story, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Those are arguably the 4 best episodes in the entire series, because of what you know about Spike prior to that. Disagree? Agree?
No, I don't.
No.
I agree.
A lot of the character development here is done by just revelations. That is a very, it's so good we did the fucking unordinary webtoon with that. Because Joe, everyone
I did not do it. I did not do it on purpose, but it matched phenomenally well.
The Joe character in that one, it's Cowboy Bebop. It's just like every single character is just John Doe. They have their own limitations. They have their own story. It just gets revealed to you, and they need to face it off with the conflicts they have inside of them. Still, you already have the very simple story, just like Tori said. You can just see it as a comedy action movie. They even have a bunch of Bruce Lee nods throughout the show, which is great. Yeah. He's even in a fucking outdoor, which I love it. Just Spike fighting style is basically Bruce Lee's.
Yes, that is as well something that has to be highlighted, because the fight choreography in Cowboy Bebop as well, it is astonishing.
It is I think it's the same guy who did the UFO Table Fate choreography, right?
Oh, that's interesting if that's true.
Isn't it?
I'm not 100%
I remember a lot of people commenting the UFO Table fighting choreographing Fate is very reminiscent of Cowboy Bebop. I don't remember if it's the same guy or someone related to him, but I remember a lot of people saying that it is very equivalent to Cowboy Bebop. So if you haven't watched Cowboy Bebop, which I believe it's
You know what's a big regret of mine? I've never seen the Cowboy Bebop movie.
Oh, really?
Really?
Okay, you should definitely do that.
I've watched it.
You guys
I
should
think I watched it
definitely
as
do
well.
that. I watched
Alright,
that not too long ago. It's just a side story, right? It doesn't do much, like, in terms of adding to the story. Like, if I say adding to the story, Cowboy Bebop is mostly episodic, and that's essentially what the movie is, another episode. But it's a really interesting episode. It's a lot of fun. So
Here's the thing. This is what I think sets Cowboy Bebop apart from episodic TV shows. Okay?
Mhm.
This show, yes, it's episodic. However, in almost every episode, or at least every now and again, they tie in a character backstory into the
A
episode.
revelation.
A revelation of...
Yeah, I like those kind of shows. I don't like calling them episodic, because an episodic nature means you have the beginning, the middle, and the ending comprised into the episode. It's more like a big picture being made. They are they are bounty hunters, and they are not related to each other.
Sure.
They kind of care for each other with that more of a fraternal emotion feeling, except by the end with Faye kind of gets a little gray with Spike. But most of the time it's just like we are bound by the circumstances. We don't have money. We can help each other to get money. That's about it. Except Ed, who wanted to be part of the Bebop. That's basically it. We're just bound by circumstances. We don't really care about each other. Once I get money, I'll just get out of here, whatever.
Or so they say.
That's why
Well-
you have the episodes of the bounty hunter, bounty hunting.
So
But
when
it's a big picture. Every episode gives you a little puzzle piece for the big picture, and that's great.
Yes, I do agree with that. I do think it's more than just a standard episodic, but it is framed as an episodic show. Every episode is technically still self-contained, apart from the two-parters, right? It's just after a while you start to, like you say, paint a picture that, wait, hold on, there's something else that's brewing in between these seemingly random one-off episodes.
But that's what sets it apart.
Mm-hmm.
That's the point.
I know.
Is you're still learning about the characters, right? So if we're looking at anime today, and we see an episodic show, and we're not seeing a progression in the characters, we're not learning about the characters in any way, we're not seeing episodes focused on characters developing. Well, as Hickey said, they're not actually developing. We're just learning about them, right? That's
not
what
progressing.
makes Cowboy Bebop.
They are developing. They are not progressing. We're just
Right.
learning about them,
We're
and
just
that
learning
makes
about them.
the development.
That's what so many shows are lacking today.
Yes. I mean, I can kind of see, like, it's one of those things which, like, I would say that it's not just something that anime in general lacks. It's something that, while he still kind of does it to a certain extent, even Shinichiro Watanabe himself has kind of dropped that idea. I don't know if it's because it's too much work but
Yeah,
he
it's
generally
weird.
see-
Even in his own shows, he's kind of phased out of it. It's weird.
Yeah. No, but I don't know. Like, you still see parts of it. He still does it a little bit. You can even see it a little bit in Carol and Tuesday from this season. It's not a lot, but there is, like, generally speaking, you've been learning a little bit about the characters haven't so much been progressing as you have learned, like, a little bit more about who they are. They are going to progress as well because they need to. They're teenagers. So it's like, but there is generally.
Well,
just
I mean,
learning
we
a
saw
little
in
bit more about
Samurai
the characters from-
Champloo.
Yeah, you did. But again, it's to a lesser extent. Right, so again, but
little
I don't
bit,
know.
yeah.
I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just Watanabe himself has decided that that he doesn't like it, or if it's just that he doesn't feel like it's worth the time investment due to, kind of what happened to Cowboy Bebop in Japan, or I don't know. But for some reason, he doesn't really.
Yeah,
do it
maybe he's a
anymore.
little bit hesitant because of Cowboy Bebop not being so popular in Japan in particular. But that had a lot to do with the culture at the time as well, as we found out.
It might be like it is. I really enjoy those kind of episodic shows that are not actually technically episodic because we have the puzzle pieces. Might be a case of the pointy chins and pointy noses.
You think so?
People just drop it.
Yeah.
You think that was a case
Drop
at the
it
time?
No, it might be. I'm not saying it was. I don't know. I had 2 years old at that when that anime came out. I don't know. But it might be. It might be.
God damn,
because
every day I feel older and
Cowboy,
older because of you two.
Good. But I mean, like,
even for example, even Bebop has the round faces, but it still has like a little bit of nose, a little bit of the chin, right? If it's not a female, a few female they are not, but most of the female they are already in the logic of the round faces in small noses. Might be that align with the pointy chins and pointy noses being dropped, and usually those are more associated with heavy shows. Might be with the social circumstances of the time. People got it wrong. Now that's my opinion. People got it wrong and drop it. Say no, that's not profitable. I guess it's better to pop out, as we see nowadays, it's better to pop out as simple and fast shows as you can for quick money, in my opinion, again, because it's selling, than invest in this, which I believe is a mistake.
Yeah.
But hey.
Yeah, I mean, but it is. I do think there is some validation to that, because just in general, we do know that, like, just watch anime today, right? There's a lot of things that are being focused on that I think aren't necessary to make a good story. And some things can even be kind of hindrances to a great story, but creators feel like they have to do it because there is this thing now with so much new anime coming out, with so many things you're competing for attention. You need something that grabs attention. You need to stand out. You need to, and we know that a lot of times it's not necessarily the stories or characters that stand out from each other. In general, just like, look, there's this giant monster who got brutally murdered in episode 1. The rest of the show is a slice of life. It's nothing to do, but we need to capture attention, right? There's kind of not necessarily that extreme, but like there are oftentimes things I feel like start. I don't even want to say that start with the action, because I do like in medias res stories, which is when you start kind of at the core of it all, where like the big thing happens. I do like those types of stories, but I feel like there are things that needs to be put into a story, needs to be done to a story to grab attention. And I mean, we talk to a lot of other anime fans as well. I'm not sure if you guys have seen the same thing, but I see this a lot. There's a lot of people who just say that if they see that a show is episodic, they won't watch it.
I have seen that.
Yeah, right. And I feel like that is also something that Japan has to deal with, that writers have to deal with. Like, I can't really write an episodic show like this because a lot of people just aren't interested. They don't want to watch it. It's episodic.
No, I mean, I said this before. In essence, you know what? How about this? In an outside person looking in, Cowboy Bebop is episodic. However,
yeah, at its core.
At its core. However, if you look at it, I went down on the agenda 1 through 26, right? Of what each episode entails, and I would say 7 out of 10 episodes are either character development or story explicit of what Cowboy Bebop is, right?
Yes.
Yeah. We can also look at it and why it's not replicated by the opposite way. it's not episodic enough. Remember, like, this
That's
show
true.
is going on television, and if you going on television, I would believe people would prefer an episodic show. Because if you miss an episode, just like Lupin, if you miss an episode, fuck it. Doesn't really matter.
No,
Lupin,
Lupin in its essence is episodic.
Yes.
Unless
that's why I'm
it's
using.
part 4 or 5.
Well, yes,
You
but
can-
that's trying to appeal to
yes.
more modern fans. The older
Exactly.
shows are almost
Yeah.
completely episodic, which
But it's
is
still-
also better for. Which I agree with Hickey. I think that's better for the show in general because it allowed people to just. One of the things I think helped, especially the anime. I mean, the manga's popularity did help as well. But one of the things that helped them was people could just, whenever they had time, they could tune into an episode and see, the hijinks that the Lupin gang gets up to this time. Right?
That's what it used to be back then, right?
I know,
Like,
yeah.
if I watched an episode of, I don't, just speaking from my age, if I watched an episode of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Rugrats, 2 different channels, if I tuned into an episode, 9 times out of 10, I want that episode to be a self-contained story, because I don't want to feel like I missed anything the day before.
Yes, but hear me out now. If going to that logic and applying to modern anime, if you have a very simple narrative or a very simple storytelling that goes close, but it is not an episodic show, it also benefits you. Usually, like when we watch seasonal things, we're like, oh, we watched 3 episodes and now we already know the fucking whole story because, they make it so simple a toddler would understand. That's the point. You need, understand those things that going on television. Some people misses episodes. We don't, but some people do. That's why you have like the 0.5 episodes, which are like 6 episodes recaps. Still, if you don't watch the recap, if you miss 2 episodes, which I did because of the amount of anime I watched, sometimes I miss an episode of a seasonal show. I start watching a new episode. And it might be a continuation of the story. It's a complete continuation. I realize I missed the show. 10 minutes in, I understand what happened in the past episode. Because the replication of the episodic it's not nature, but benefits into continuation shows. And then when you have something like Bebop, which is a continuation in its core, but it also has the puzzle pieces in most of the episodes, so you can't really miss a lot of episodes.
Most of the episodes.
It gets really, really hard to go on television.
Yeah.
It gets really, really hard to sell in a daily basis on television. So like it's a market logic.
But
let's believe that.
why? Now I ask the question. But why was it so popular in the Western audience?
Because most of the time, one, you would watch it late at night when you got out of school, so you'd have that time to watch it. You would hardly miss an episode.
Yeah,
Not like
that was the way I watched
yeah.
it. Absolutely.
Yeah, not fans in Japan, which usually those anime goes out in the middle of the morning, like 2 a.m. But also you could watch a bunch of times of reruns in television. Usually that doesn't really happen in Japan because of the amount of anime they pump out every month or every 3 months. Or you could just
that didn't quite occur in
could
1998.
but you also have the VHS or the DVD.
Yes, that did.
Which one of your friends will like, look, I saw this show, my father bought the VHS, here, watch it. And those, it has it. You have more time. In the West, you have more time to go and watch it or rewatch it. In Japan, once it's over, you need to pay attention to the other thing that is coming in the same time slot.
Yeah, I mean,
you don't have that much time to rewatches and reruns. That's why you also have, Watanabe really liking Western things, and you identify to the cities, to the themes, and everything else. That's why I believe it's more popular in the West.
Yeah, that was basically what I was going to say. It's like, there is just the general, Western appreciation. That's why, you've heard it. we've all heard it. Like whenever people are like, what's a good gateway anime? Cowboy Bebop. Because you're not going to have... Because the number one thing for people... I'm not going to say the number one thing for people, but like for a lot of people, there's a bit of a culture shock going into anime. You're probably not going to have that much of a culture shock with Cowboy Bebop. It's still fairly familiar. And it's one of those rare things that has a good dub as well. So it's very easy to get
Great
into.
dub.
Yeah. Like,
It's
one
dub.
of those things, like, it's very easy to get into. It's one of those rare shows that for some reason everything just seemed to come together for this one show. The characters, the story, the animation, the music, the dub, the fucking... It got very lucky.
Yeah, definitely. Like when you identify to something, it's way easier. That's why, like, one of the biggest recommendations to Brazilian fans is Michiko and Hatin, because it's based in Brazil, and you identify to it. You say
that makes sense.
They appreciate my culture, and they did something about that. You go in Cowboy Bebop, it's like, oh, this is just like Bruce Lee's movies. Oh, damn, this looks so much like a lot of Clint Eastwood movies as well. Right? Or Tarantino movies as well. And you look at it as like, this is my culture. There's a lot of movies I like. There's a lot of references to things I like. It looks like the downtown of my city if you live in Detroit. But there's...
Gotta bring up Detroit.
I mean, my city is very decadent as well, so I understand it.
Okay.
It looks like a lot of the places where they go, especially with the Chinese, because for some reason there's a bunch of Chinese here now. Regardless, it looks like my city. You know, tall buildings where I'm working right now. I can show you pictures. It looks like, you know, the places where Spike goes. Down abandoned buildings, like those Chinese little shops, or very shady things, everything very dirt and kind of abandoned, but not really. I look at it, I look at the show, I look at the place I'm working at, and I was like, dude, it's very, very close to it. Imagine it replicated millions of times through rewatches, through ages now in the West. In Japan, again, it's not the logic the market wants. The market wants something easy to digest that you don't need to watch every week religiously, right? That's something I just thought about, like applying the episodic nature or the episodic benefits to continuous stories.
Yeah.
Making something easy to understand and easy to follow, that even if you miss one episode or two, you understand what is going on. With Bebop, that doesn't really happen that much. It can happen 1 and 2, but if you miss like Jupiter, what is the name? The Jupiter Jazz. If you miss those
Jupiter
2 episodes,
Jazz,
you'd be very, very lost. Right?
Yeah, you gotta watch the season finale, as they would put it. Yeah, it's every time I've watched Cowboy Bebop, especially after living in different countries, the way I have, Canada, Romania, Germany, England, every country seems to have its anime, right? I always seem to get part of that community. Germany is Akame ga Kill. That's what I always... That's the most interesting that I always reference.
Okay.
It's very interesting. America, it's Cowboy Bebop, right? You miss an episode when it puts a story forward, episodic or not, the society seems to step away from, right? Anime seems to have a draw to it. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I do agree.
Well, yeah,
It's,
I mean, exotic Japan.
Yeah. No, but like I do think it's interesting. I like that brought up as well, because I didn't really think about that. Like what kind of different cultures get drawn to in anime as well. Because I was just like, I've obviously been on the internet for a while, so what I've seen is
The
generally-
internet.
I know, right? So what I've generally
I have
seen is
heard of
Cowboy-
this.
Yes, I know, right? So what I generally see is Cowboy Bebop recommended, because as things happen to be on the internet in a lot of places, there's a lot of American people. So I've kind of got that. Well, when you guys start talking about what's, I guess, recommended to other places, or what's kind of seen as other places, I started thinking, what's the Scandinavian version of that? And it just immediately hit me. It's Moomin. Because it's based on a novel by a Finnish author.
There you go.
That's like,
Yeah,
that's
things that are related to your culture.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
I would love to say Brazilian one is definitely Michiko Henchi, but it's Sensei.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Well, some things become cult hits. I mean, One Piece and Detective Conan in Germany, in my time, Inuyasha, those were the top 3 when I was there, when I was living there. Period.
Yeah, Inuyasha is just everywhere.
Everywhere. But years
So
later,
is
when
Cowboy
I'm
Bebop.
still talking to the as I hit my mic, unfortunately, Akame ga Kill had this cultural connection with Germany and German-speaking countries. Which
Sorry.
I found, like, when I wasn't even living in Germany at the time, and I'm just like,
Tori.
really?
Don't. Do not.
I'm not going to. I just thought that was really funny. I just thought it was a funny way of pointing it out.
The joke is already laid down. You do not need to
the
explain it.
Nazism joke is already just there.
No, it's just German in a nutshell.
So,
yeah, no, definitely. Especially, like, for example, why you touched on Inuyasha. Inuyasha is also episodic to core, but you still have a lot of episodes with story. Might be just a little piece, might be a whole episode. We don't see those shows. We still see here and there, but they are, again, either episodic or so easy to follow you don't need the puzzle piece. You can figure it out about it. Man, that was a very good conclusion. I am very proud of us. Holy shit.
if you're keeping count, I'm on my 5th Scotch glass.
Let's
JD.
start talking about the actual Cowboy Bebop show.
No, what should we do with that? That's been talked about to death.
I mean,
already.
we've been talking about Cowboy Bebop. We can talk about the characters.
Well, the awesome thing about Cowboy Bebop is not only cultural influence, but how we can relate to it through how anime has evolved over the years and regressed over the years. My favorite episodes of Cowboy Bebop, to this day, I've watched the series in its entirety 6 times now. Obviously, it's the Spike Spiegel Recountants episodes. It's the only 2 double episodes in the series. It's Real Folk Blues and Jupiter Jazz. I love those. I could watch those 4 episodes over and over again. I love those things. Yet, its first 5 episodes are timeless, I feel. That's Asteroid Blues, where you get to know the crew. Stray Dog Strut, that's where you meet Ein,
The
which
most
means
important character.
yeah, well, it's the corgi. It's I feel, Hickey, we've talked about this prior off the cast. I feel that there needs to be a Brazilian German cultural influence episode at some point.
Well, shit, you just need to come to my state. There's some people who don't speak fucking Portuguese. In the countryside. They've been here for 100 years and they didn't bother to learn fucking Portuguese.
Kick them out.
if you get lost in the countryside, you get into countryside German. Literally, it looks like the countryside of Germany in the 1920s. Very, very weird place.
Hickey, I'm throwing this out. I'm 31 right now. Before I turn 35, I'm coming to Brazil. At some point.
You shouldn't do that.
Don't get stabbed.
Just saying.
I want to come visit my podcast friend and understand Brazil. Or at least have a party in Brazil.
I mean, you want to go to the places who look very Brazilian, or the places who look very Japanese or Chinese or Spanish or basically German as fuck?
Can we go German as
Because
fuck? That's what I'm more familiar with.
Sure, we can go. We can go to South Brazil.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So
Cool.
the first 5 episodes of Cowboy
Making
Bebop.
plans on the fly in the fucking podcast. Fuck Cowboy Bebop. Tori, we pay your fucking
Tori, you in?
tickets as well.
Hell yeah! Oh my
All
god,
right,
didn't we just talk about how we finally perfected our fucking formula and now we're back to like episode 1? But yeah, the first 5 episodes are iconic. Keep
The
going.
first 5 episodes are very iconic. I think they're worth watching. And then there's
Yes,
few.
That's just the entire show.
I honestly, I think after that, that's where the show kind of goes few and far between. Obviously, Jupiter Jazz, that's 2 episodes. I really enjoy Chessmaster Hex. That's the big chess game episode.
The one with the wave.
Yeah.
Yeah, great episode.
I absolutely love any backstory involving Faye Valentine. I'm always involved in the story, unveiling through there. The same thing goes with Jet, with his story. So that goes with what we've been saying throughout since we started this episode, is Cowboy Bebop has this innate ability that, even though it's episodic, every episode draws you into a main character and its backstory and why you should care about this episode. It's not character progression, but character learning. So if I was to say, side tangent, that pertains, if there was a second season of Cowboy Bebop, progressing the characters would be so good if they're capable. It'd be so
Jesus,
good,
Frank.
like Faye Valentine. Let's say Spike dies or lives. Who cares?
Like, my problem is-
I do care.
Let's say he dies
Bang.
and we introduce
No.
a new character. Let's say it's
No,
involving
no,
nothing
no.
but Faye and Jet.
No new characters.
my problem is like the characters had such a good closure, except Ed. Ed was a little bit.
Oh, I
but
think
whatever.
I think
Ed is
Faye and
weird.
Ed had open to interpretation endings.
Technically the entire thing. Yes, but yes. No, but like, I mean, see, here's my problem. This is why I kind of have to disagree with you on this one. It's just because at this point, after all these years, the Cowboy Bebop ending is so fucking iconic for what it is. Not because it's a hard fucking conclusion, but there's just something after all that shit that's been boiling up over the years finally gets released, and Spike finally does the thing. It all culminates in the scene where he just walks down the fucking stairs, beaten up, satisfied, bang, the end.
Okay, here's this.
We don't need another Code Geass. All right.
No,
Yeah,
no, no.
it's like-
Just saying
I
that.
was gonna bring that up. Tori, how about this? We have a continuation. However, easily, thing about writing, there can be recounts of Spike, where you can have him in the series, and he's recounting things up until the point of Julia, in between Julia and Vicious. There's plenty of things you can do to continue the series and involve your amazing main character, Spike Spiegel.
All right. Look. Hold on. Let's get to a middle ground. That's JD's drunk. He's not making any
Obviously,
sense. So,
I'm fucking
let's
high
come
on
to middle
cough
ground.
medicine,
The
drunk
middle
on
ground-
scotch.
The middle ground is the Lupin movies, because Lupin does that. Like we were
Yes,
saying,
yes.
the characters here, usually we call, usually in books and novels, whatever, soap operas, you have one main character and you have the support cast. In anime, we call a lump of characters main characters because they are all born to the same situation and they are all progressing through the same way to the same ending. Bebop is special in that, and that comes back to the unOrdinary reference I did in the first place, because every character is a main character in its own right,
Sure.
with its own story, with its own way, and its own end. They are just together because the circumstances says they need to be together. It's not because they are progressing to the same end. They made their own choices. They need to live with their own choices. It would be really nice from 1998 until now, because I think it's a little bit too late for that, and it's kind of, it's kind of spiny. I don't think people want to touch in Cowboy Bebop. It can lead to deaths and riots.
But
if they
do
did
you
a lot
really
of
disagree with
independent movies, if they did a bunch of independent movies for the characters, I would love, like, my favorite character and my favorite story at all, it's Jet. Jet story is great. Bebop, the ship, is great. I'd love to see something like a standalone movie, because you can do that. Because he's not a main character attached to another main character, like we see a lot in anime. He's his own main character in his own story.
So you agree with the fact that Cowboy Bebop could, in theory, do what the Lupin movies are doing?
Yes, with Jigen, with
that's kind of what I'm driving at. Like if they would come out with the Cowboy Bebop
I'm
season
organizing.
2.
I understand you. I'm just organizing your thoughts because you're drunk.
Well,
yeah. So yeah, like it would be awesome. Like Faye, a kind of prequel to Faye, or a sequel as well. Not in after her end. Not after her end, but like sometimes they just say, well, where's Faye? Whatever. That's also cool, right? They're not attached to each other. So
Tori,
a character just disappears, and the other character is like, doesn't matter.
I'm gonna cut you off right here. Tori, could you imagine? Because Faye Valentine I feel is very similar to the character that is Fujiko Mine. Could you see a parallel kind of movie of a Faye Valentine, like going through her youth up until her amnesia period to present day? Could you see a movie like that?
Okay, so essentially like the woman called Fujiko Mine.
Exactly. I mean, you're a big Lupin and Fujiko fan, as much as I am, if not more.
Yeah, no, I mean, of course I can see it, but the problem isn't like the problem I have right now isn't so much that could they do it. They could do whatever they want. They could make a sequel if they absolutely want to.
Look, I get it, but
I don't particularly want. Yes, sure. Of course they could expand on Faye's history of before she got her amnesia. Like, make that even more fleshed out. Of course they could take Jet, make their own thing about him, flesh out his backstory even more. Like, forget about it.
You just don't want it.
Forget about forget about it.
But why not?
Because it's fine the way it is.
Yeah, that is what it comes down
to. It's usually when we talk about it. What if they did that? What if they did that?
Yeah,
what has always the same
I don't like
opinions.
that.
Like,
I just don't like that answer, because if the opportunity is there, why not?
Well, because it doesn't make money. But here, okay.
Yeah,
JD,
I mean, like,
why
JD,
would it not
like
make money?
JD, just
Because
like
it
you
didn't.
said, it wasn't very popular in Japan, and we know how it is. If it's not popular in Japan,
I hate to admit it, but you guys are right. But let's say it does make money. Would it?
Let's say in a perfect world, yes, of course.
In a perfect world, would that not be ideal?
In a perfect world,
Yes,
sure. If
unfortunately.
it was amazing,
In a
and yeah,
perfect
sure.
world, there's no crime, there's no violence. Everyone is
how about
rich,
this
and I
argument?
have a biggest dick than I already have. It's not ideal.
Yeah.
But
No,
what about this
need
argument?
to
Like,
deal with
is
that.
Lupin the biggest money draw? Is it among the biggest? We've seen
No.
the Jigon, we've seen the Goemon, we're having the Fujiko. What's stopping this?
Well, what's stopping it is the fact that it has been a fucking age since it ended, and there's been nothing new. Unlike Lupin, that doesn't go too long between series and specials and the movies and whatnot. It's that is the biggest difference. Lupin has kind of always been here. Cowboy Bebop showed up and then disappeared with a bang. But the only thing I'd like to say to you, JD, is you want more? Go and watch the movie.
Wow.
You will get more.
Well, in the movie's case, look, I love Lupin. Tori, you know I love Lupin.
Yeah.
I adore it, right? I like the first series. I like Lupin and his adventures. There is so much Lupin to go off of. However, as we're discussing Cowboy Bebop, there's only one Cowboy Bebop movie that I know of, right? And that's Spike. What do we not have? That's Jet, and that's Faye Valentine. Your other two characters. Ed?
Yo, fuck Ed. Just...
I mean, we could make a whole show without Ed, and the series would be fine. As much as I like Ed and the goofiness, there could be a movie of Ed, right? There could be, obviously.
Ed would have more of a sequel movie in that case, but yeah.
Yeah, it'd be a sequel. Because a lot was uncovered in the series. Faye Valentine and Jet have so much to uncover. Just like Goemon, just like Fujiko. There's
Yes.
so much
no one is disagreeing with you in that. It's just like it's a matter of relevancy.
Yeah,
I know it's relevancy, but if you want to see more of the series,
but JD,
I'll give you a straight answer, and we will finish that. Usually, that's what I say to my friends. You want it? Work hard, becomes fucking rich, and fund it itself. Until then, I mean, I thought about that already. There's a bunch of anime I want continuations. If I get rich, if I get enough money, I'll just fund it. Fuck it. Anyone wants it. Fuck it. I want it. I have enough money to that. Sure. But until then, it's reality.
Yeah.
And we just need to accept it. Just like you said.
I get
Bebop.
I get
Yeah,
it.
just like the conclusion of Bebop, it's reality and we need to accept it.
Yeah.
Even if it is to fade into the non-existent.
I
But
love
here's
the
heaven,
I love
depending
the
on
ending of
what-
Bebop. Don't get me wrong.
Same.
I absolutely love
yeah.
it. The whole bang, we're done here. Like, that's one of the best anime endings in history, as far as I'm concerned. Period.
It definitely leaves an impact.
Yep.
But
It leads such an impact for the character of Spike Spiegel and what he lays out, what we know about his character in the series, how he's so laid back. However, through a simple 2 episodes in Jupiter Jazz, we learn enough about him where he goes, when it pertains to this person, that's where I draw the line. And Vicious, on top of that, I have to take care of business. I have to take care of my own past, I have to take care of my present, and where future lies. All the way up to bang, that ending. We don't need anything more from Spike. Right? That's where things would go sour with an audience. I've seen countless shows where they've taken the expletive and expanding upon a marker of that. And that's where that show kind of ruins it. That's why also bringing up the point of we can expand before that, which something like Lupin is doing.
Not exactly, but yes.
Well, not exactly, but you get where I'm driving at.
No, I understand you. Like it is. Don't get me wrong. I get you. Like I've been battling with this ever since I watched it. When I first watched it, I did the exact same thing. I was like, I want more of this. This is amazing.
Yes.
Fuck it. I just want more. I want more because why does it have to stop? But as I've grown, as time's moved on, as I've moved on, I've come to realize that there's a part of the mystique of not quite knowing that is also really,
I agree,
good.
Tori. That's a great point.
It's really good. That really works in the benefit of the show, right? You know, but you don't know everything. But that's cool. So yeah, but I think we've beaten that point to death now.
Oh yeah, definitely.
What are your favorite episodes of the series?
That is a hard one, especially going off of memory. Like I mean, you
Like,
basically.
I have all 26 episodes written down on the agenda.
I know, but it's still like trying to remember exactly how they played out. Obviously, like you did say, like episode 12 and 13 and 24 and 25, 25 and 26, they are obviously like some of the most memorable episodes,
Sure.
some of the more like memorable episodes of the show. There's definitely like, I do know, like I definitely got hooked on Cowboy Bebop. Like it really hooked me with Honky Tonk Woman when they encounter Faye. That is the moment that really like I was like, okay, I'm in.
Yeah, that was episode
look,
3.
it's Fujikomine.
Exactly.
Before you knew about Fujikomine.
Exactly. I was like, dude, hot women, I'm in.
Oh, like she's the standard of Thai high, isn't it? She's the gold standard. Mine is Black Dog Serenade, which is the conclusion of Jet's story.
Well, that's
where he
way
goes
later.
to-
That's 16 episodes in.
No, yeah, that's 16. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, really fun episode. Really good episode. And also one where they beat up a bunch of spaceships to death. And you realize, in Bebop, that's something you realize. Usually when you watch shows that go in space and things like that, everything is so pristine. In Bebop,
Sure.
you have oil leaking and everything is bent. They don't have money to fix anything. You only see Jet cleaning the ship once.
Oh yeah.
Even there's a whole episode about how if you don't clean shit on space, it might evolve into a weird shit.
Yeah. I mean, Cowboy Bebop, the universe of Cowboy Bebop in general is just, it is fucked. The whole fucking society, government, everything, it's fucked.
So, Cowboy Bebop is the anime that got me into like I was always into sci-fi stuff, right?
Mhm.
But for some reason Cowboy Bebop really got me way into sci-fi stuff. And when the show Serenity came out, I was enamored with space travel and that whole cowboy universe. So the first episode that really clipped me with Cowboy Bebop was 7, Heavy Metal Queen, which is where Spike's in a bar just battling a hangover, right? He's just like, I just want this raw egg, like, and he's tilting into the glass. He's like, look, I learned this from an old comrade. It helps hangovers. I just need this egg. Like, and then he gets shot out. He's like, oh my god, why? He meets VT. Shenanigans happen. The whole series progresses from there with how characters interact and how Spike interacts with those characters. I really loved it. It all clicked. And it led to a whole sci-fi genre that opened up with me. Whether it was science, math, all that. I expanded upon it. So Cowboy Bebop, in a lot of ways, had a big impact on my, at least, educational standpoint, surprisingly enough.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I said. We said this at the beginning. Cowboy Bebop means a lot to a lot of people. For me, it doesn't really mean more than what got me into anime. Although I could say I've lost a lot of my life to that after. But so it does have an impact, right? But it is. You often see, especially now, you see people throw out the fact that like it's overrated. To which I will actually agree. I do think it is overrated.
Ooh, no.
No, I don't mean that. I don't mean that in a bad way. I don't mean like it's overrated because it's not as good as what people say. But I do think it is overrated in the sense that, like, it becomes nothing but positives. It's the gold standard of anime. Nothing could compete. That's what I mean, right? It's not there. That's not quite true. It's not. It's really fucking good. I absolutely love the shit out of it. But I do still think that it does get overhyped for a lot of people. They go into it, they expect the world, and then they get hit by what they think is an episodic anime at first, and they're like, that's it. There's a bit of that.
Yeah.
There is
a
some of that.
masterpiece. Also, the CG is horrible. Holy shit.
Yeah.
It is in 1998, but the CG looks like Go-Go 13 style.
Look, nothing can compare to Go-Go 13 style. Let's not go overboard there, Hickey.
It can. We can try. They definitely try, especially more than anime. They are really, really trying hard.
Look, Cowboy Bebop has such a place in history.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's not overrated. I really don't. I think it's just because it wasn't popular in Japan, and it was popular in the West, it has to be taken into account. I mean, we saw the same thing with Trigun, but not to the extent that Cowboy Bebop had.
Yes.
Well, Trigun's bad.
Just ping pong. No, for translating what Drunk JD is saying, he's saying it's not overrated, but oversold. People oversell it.
Thank you.
If you go into with high expectations, especially at the beginning, you're like, that's it. But if you not oversell it, instead of saying, oh, this is a masterpiece, this is the best thing ever, holy shit, I creamed my pants watching that shit. If you just go and explain, look, it has a lot of history, it is very good, you need to pay attention to this, you need to pay attention to that, what we do here in this podcast.
Yeah, but like...
Suddenly it makes sense, the score it has.
Yes, but again, if you go online and you see the tons do a Google search of Cowboy Bebop to see what pops up. Not being oversold on Cowboy Bebop is kind of hard.
Yes, definitely. But again, it's not an ID award. In an ID award, they'll have like 5 inches more. And regardless, it's not an ID award. And unfortunately, I agree with both of you. I think overselling shows really damages it.
Do you think we've oversold Anne of Green Gables?
Probably.
Probably.
Probably. I will admit my mistakes. Probably, but just a little bit. I'm not the one who gave it a 10.
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up, because there's been 2 shows in my lifetime I've been oversold on. And that's been Death Note and Code Geass.
Oh, yes. Not so much Death Note for me, but Code Geass definitely.
Like, those 2 shows to me have been very much oversold. And I think that's a prime for the time. Now, Anne of Green Gables, I've been eating crow since day one. I've been eating crow since day one. I'm like, Tori, you're absolutely right.
But like, you weren't overselling that.
Yeah,
like no amount of overselling could have done that show justice.
The problem is like not you being oversold to it, but you overselling it.
In my own mind, sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you don't think about it because you judge yourself through the meanings of your actions, and you judge others through the actions. So you look in the actions of others and say, oh, they are overselling it. My intention is showing how good the show is. But if you look at your actions, you are actually overselling something. Regardless, that's not the point. Let's just give our score because JD is way too drunk and he's going on territories. I still want to. I want to keep talking, but we are getting too far.
We have been going for a
It's
while.
fair enough. I mean, it's just like unOrdinary.
No, don't worry about it. Once we're over, we can keep talking. It's fine.
Yeah. All right, boys. So, Hickey, give your score of Cowboy Bebop first.
I don't have my anime list open, but it's either an 8 or 9, and I'm not overselling it. I'm not. I just enjoy it overall.
Okay.
All right.
I'll put in an 8 because
8?
All right. CG, yeah, the CG is like it's bad CG for the time, even for the time, and there's a few problems here and there. I think they overspent in animation from time to time, so sometimes you just get shots that are just buildings.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah.
All right,
but
fair
it's
enough.
Fine. It's a fine show.
Fair enough.
All right. When I watched it, I think I originally gave it an 8. But after some thinking, I bumped it up to a 9. Again, it is one of those things like we've explained for like over an hour now. It's a special show to me. It's my first anime.
Special
that
show
I
to a
ever
lot
watched.
of people.
Yeah. It's the first anime that I watched, not ever, but it's the first anime that I watched knowing that it was anime. Trying to figure out what the fuck this anime thing was. And it does mean a lot to me. It is a show that I care about, a show that I watch, a show that I wish that I would have gotten the chance to rewatch for this very podcast. I was planning to do it, but I couldn't. So but here we are. Anyways, it is, to me, one of those special shows that just it might get oversold a lot, and you might have heard people praise it to death a million times before, and I'm sadly one of those guys that has to do the same. It's a good show.
All right. So, I have a long history with Cowboy Bebop. Long history. I mean,
Yeah, we know.
Yeah.
You're old.
There's 2 episodes that, no matter what, I always seem to recount above all others. And that's Toys in the Attic. That's the venomous
Blob.
kind of crab that they leave in the fridge episode. And the one where Spike chases the serial killer into the amusement park
Yes.
episode.
Yeah.
It has its hits. And I didn't mention that in the story-related episodes, which I think increases Cowboy Bebop's remembrance of it all. Like, even when it's not related, its episodic episodes still add something of remembrance. So, for me, with when I watch it, how I've watched it, how much I've watched it, I mean, again, this is my 6th time easily through the entire series. I won't give this a 10 out of 10 because there's still episodes that I could totally skip, right? That's a major thing. If I watch a show and I could say to myself, I don't need to watch this episode. This is worthless. I'm not interested. That's a major deterrent. Shows like Anna Green Gables, Future Boy Conan, they don't do that for me. But Cowboy Bebop, as infamous as it is, and how much it means to me, and no matter how many times I watch it, I still get the same feeling, it means a lot. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. Period.
Mm-hmm.
And I do want to see more out of it. I certainly need to see the movie where it's Spike fighting, right?
Mhm.
I need to see that. I love this series. I love what it means in anime history. It has a lot to do with a lot of people. No doubt. And that's my point.
No, just kidding. Yeah. All right. JD, please close us off if you can.
I can't close this off. So, if you guys are looking out towards the Red Leaf Retrocast in the future, apologize for us being a week late. Illnesses have impaired the podcast. We got Stainless Night as our next episode. That's a hentai cast. I know you guys have been clamoring for it for a long time. That's episode 51. Then we got a number of episodes on the horizon. We're revisiting Legend of the Galactic Heroes. Down the line, we got episode 2 coming for that. Lots of movies. Go check out Anime Radicals at animeradicalscom.com. Tori Hickey, 50 episodes. We did it. My God, you guys have stuck with me through thick and thin.
Yeah, it was very hard this episode because goddamn JD, we need to set a limitation to alcohol.
My alcohol is not a problem. I don't know what you're talking about.
Dude, I have problems with alcohol. I understand it is a problem. So yes, only 2 cups of scotch per cast.
But I'm on number 5 here.
Shut up, or gonna buy
This
a
has
fucking.
been amazing, guys.
I'll buy a fucking ticket and go to the United States and beat you up.
All right,
Swear
guys.
to God.
Fan-fucking-tastic. This has been episode 50. I'm Tori. Signing out. Peace.
Goodbye.
愛してたと嘆くにはあまりにも時は過ぎてしまったまだ心のほころびを癒せぬまま風が吹いてる乾いた瞳で誰か泣いてくれ The real folk blues 本当の悲しみが知りたいだけ泥の川に浸かった人生も悪くはない一度きりで終わるな